Hello there, my name is Bruce Rain from Brankus Creations, and that's confirmed. Hello to everyone, welcome to my stream. Please let me know if everything is okay, audio, visual, all that sort of stuff. It's been a little while since I did one of these, a couple of weeks. I had planned to, I would have liked to have last week, but unfortunately a close friend of mine passed away, and I was doing some stuff in preparation for his funeral, so it was not exactly a happy occasion, but yeah, unfortunately missed out on streaming last week, but we'll try and make up for it this week. So thank you to everyone who has joined. I have got 5 viewers at the moment, and I am just going to say a quick little hello to the House of Moth, Jay, Scarlet Swordfish, Zombie Geek 33, Steve Mac 84 is here, Tristan Merritt, hello, Trina Conrad, hello, Action Retro, hello. OA, hello. Who else? Chris Wilkinson, hello. Captain 318, hello. Oh, we got regulars here. Oh, we're up to 14 concurrent viewers, so there we go. So people don't want to sit and wait, do they? They want to wait till I'm actually broadcasting. So hello to folks. And would the owner of this board please step forward and say hello? He has already said hello in the chat, but give him an opportunity to say hello again. What we are looking at today is a Mac 2 board. Oh wow, look, my little microphone is poking up in the camera view there. It's not right. There we go. Hello, Cohen. Surname that starts with L. Hello, Whacked Moss 3. David Weedman. Hello. Yeah, so I have this Macintosh II board. It's interesting because I have my own Macintosh II board which needs recapping. It looks almost identical to this one in terms of the condition it's in. And I was going to do mine on a live stream, but I thought, you know what, I'll do a customer's one instead because this one arrived. For those who may or may not be aware of the Macintosh II, it came in 2 different revisions. This is the later revision of the board. The earlier one didn't have any surface mount electrolytic capacitors like this. All of the capacitors that were on it were little axial electrolytic like this. And I think all of the holes are still there from memory. Yeah, the holes are all still there. So if you want to, if you are so inclined to do so, you can take off all these surface mount electrolytics and replace them with axial electrolytics. The axial are basically these little ones here. That means it has a lead coming out of each end of the capacitor. So these are obviously surface mount electrolytic, and these are axial, and then that's an axial there as well. And then of course we have the old through-hole variety, which we would see in power supplies and stuff like that. Now, these, of course, they're surface mount electrolytic capacitors, so what's the one thing they do? They leak. And this one is no exception. I can actually see some corrosion caused by capacitor leakage. And then the other thing is, of course, these ones have these batteries on them. I have 2 batteries. They're lithium, 3-volt lithium batteries, and they are actually soldered to the board. These ones have been cut and removed, which of course if you have one of these, that is the very first thing you do. On my one, the battery hasn't visibly leaked. You don't see that horrendous explosion like you do on some of those little half AA batteries, but there is evidence of corrosion all around there. So obviously some funky stuff has come out. Hello, Jay. Thank you for turning up. I like Jay jumps on at the very beginning, just when I set the thing up, and he says hello or first or whatever the case may be, and then he disappears. Comes back later on. So came back later on. Hello, welcome. So yeah, the Macintosh II. This is the very first of the modular Macs. I do want this down further. Actually, how about I jump across this little side camera here? Yeah, there we go. So this is I did clean the desk a little bit. You wouldn't get a lot of, I mean, you can't really tell that I did, but I did. Just enough to make room for this ridiculously large board. So, the Macintosh II was the very first of the modular Macs. So up until this, there had just been compact Macs. And then the Macintosh II came out in a great big box with expandability. Look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new bus slots. 8 RAM slots. if you have do a ROM upgrade to these, they can recognize a full 128 megabytes of RAM. I think without the ROM upgrade, they can do 64 from memory, but I could be wrong. They only read 800K disks, but once again, there is a ROM upgrade you can get for these. You replace, I think it's these two chips and one of these two, I don't remember which one. And that will then allow you to recognize the full 128 megabytes of RAM, and it will also allow you to put in what they call a super drive, which is a high density floppy drive, which will allow you to read and write high density floppies. So you can obviously do that. I used to own one of these many moons ago, and it was the first Mac I bought with my own money, I should mention. I did get the ROM upgrade on mine. I worked for a company that did computer support, and he had a ROM upgrade there, and I bought it off him, and so I updated mine. That computer's long gone, unfortunately. I sure wish I still had it. Yeah, so, and obviously the really important thing that Steve has just mentioned is the fact that this was the first Mac that allowed you to have color. Now, of course, there were mono display cards you could put in this, but obviously one of the main things was you'd get a color display card put in, and you'd be able to display in color for the first time in the Macintosh world. And that, of course, was a very big thing. The display cards at the time generally would only output 640 by 480 at 256 colors. But you know, it was still 255 more colors than you had on a compact Mac. This is not the board I'm expecting to see. Yes, well, that's because that's a little treat for later on, Jay. If I manage to actually keep going for long enough, we're going to be looking at that. So basically what's happened is, and this is something that, in theory, if I get this done nice and quickly, I'm going to jump across to this board. I have had a customer send me a board that's been recapped by someone else, and it doesn't work, and I need to go in and see if I can find out why it doesn't work. So I will just quickly check the chat here. Michael Mullet, hello. Who else have we got here? Yep, cool. So now, one of the big problems with this board, from my perspective, is it doesn't fit properly in my ultrasonic cleaner, which makes it a real nightmare. I am in the process of rectifying that. I am actually building my own ultrasonic cleaner, but I am waiting for the what do they call them? The transducers. Yeah, I'm waiting for the ultrasonic transducers to arrive. So. I've already got the stainless steel bath that I'm going to put it in, but I've just got to get the ultrasonic thingies and stick them on there, and I've built one that is big enough to put these boards in it. So, well, I am building one that's big enough to put these boards in it, and I will, of course, be making a YouTube video of that whole journey as well, but I don't have all the bits yet, so there's no point in me filming it just yet. So this one has, what is it? There are 3 of these axial caps here. One little axial cap there, and then the rest is 13 surface mount electrolytic capacitors. I have a cheat sheet which I printed and didn't bring down with me, but that's okay. I can just look on the website. It's not that hard with this one because, as I say, most of the surface, all of the surface mounts are the same ones. So I think we should get onto this one as soon as possible. Start pulling it apart. Unless anyone has any questions about the Mac 2. Worth mentioning, this is something that I didn't say before. This one has 2 batteries. They serve 2 separate purposes. One battery is involved in the PRAM, or the parameter RAM, the part that stores the date and time and the mouse cursor speed and all that sort of stuff. The other one is part of the startup circuit. So when you press the button here or on the keyboard to switch the computer on, if you don't have a good working battery in one of these, it won't start. There are ways of bypassing that, but we won't worry about that. I've got a proper power supply here, so I should be able to test it and see that it is all working properly. And it just does give you an idea of the attitude towards computers at the time in terms of how long they would live for. These were lithium batteries which were expected to last, 5-10 years, something like that. I think the general expectancy was that these batteries would last for 10 years. they didn't see any need to make that battery replaceable, because the general expectation would be that in 10 years' time, no one would still be using this. And to some extent, that's kind of true. I mean, it's just because of us freaky weirdos that go in and collect these things and keep them. So, but anyhow, as I say, I got one of these just recently, fulfilled a bit of a lifelong dream. The only downside with the one I got is it doesn't have a power supply. So I'm going to probably have to fudge something with an ATX power supply, unless I can get hold of a Macintosh II, 2X, 2FX power supply somewhere for not ridiculous amounts of money, and I can test it out and see how it goes. Right. Sam, hello. Emily and Sam from Birmingham, Alabama. Happy to find you live streaming. Excellent. Thank you for joining. I do appreciate it. Are you working on your board as you watch this, Steve? He better not be. He's got to be live streaming what he works on. All right. Okay. So, now, one of the things I will be doing with this is I'll be taking these little pins, because you can't see, but they've still got the little pins of the battery here. I'll be taking those out and I'll be putting battery holders on. The customer has actually supplied me with their own battery holders for me to put in, which is great. Now, I do know these ones fit. The holes aren't in exactly the same position. They're actually a little bit further apart on this board, but I have done this before, and with a little bit of bendage, these will go in there quite well. I actually have these battery holders as well, but these are the same. These ones, there isn't much bendage going on with these pins, so I won't be using these ones. I will use the ones that the customer has supplied. These are, look, I mean, they probably look a little bit cheap, but I actually really like them. They don't need the little cover on the top. They've got this that holds the battery in place there. I like these as battery holders. I've got a few of these myself. So, all right. Let's start having a look at this board, because I've got a sneaking suspicion we're going to find a few little surprises. So let's just jump across to the microscope, which is reasonably in focus. Now, oh, wow, okay. So let's just get this in focus for you guys, and then I will focus myself. Okay, there we go, looking good. Right, so I think you can already see what the problem is here, and the problem is we have rather a large amount of these kind of black dots all over these traces. And what we have to ascertain is whether these black dots are actually breaking through the copper, or whether they're just something floating on top. Well, at first glance, it looks like they're just floating on top. Oh, I should also mention I have a new toy. So I'm just going to jump across to here and show you what I have here now is this thing here. Ooh. Now, it's meant to be battery operated, but I've connected it up to my power supply. This here is a UV laser. So, pew, 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 pew. This is for curing the UV solder mask. The advantage of this is that I can cure it virtually instantaneously while I'm doing the live stream. So if I do need to do any UV solder mask during the recapping process, I can actually cure it straight away, and we don't have to have us waiting around while I cure it out in the sunlight or with my UV globe. Right. Right, okay, all right. Right, okay, just checking. Yeah, we're all blind now. Yes, you'll be pleased to know that you won't actually be getting a dose of UV light looking at it through the camera. If I was to do it in my own eyes, that would be a really stupid thing to do. But obviously, you're only going to see the light coming out of your TV. I'm not going to actually send UV beams through the internet to you. That just doesn't work. Dana does stuff. Hello, Dana. Welcome to the stream. What time do you call this? You've been playing with your new toy, haven't you? Okay, so... Kicking me out of the house. Pick up. Okay, no worries, Tristan. I'll be kind to the board. Okay, so all right. Right. Well, the first thing I need to do, of course, is take all the RAM out of this thing, because it's gonna need to be done. So let's. What I really hate about these, of course, is these very, very brittle plastic things, but the RAM holders, and of course there is that terrible fear whenever you're doing this that you're going to just snap one of these. I'm as careful as possible, but at the end of the day, if I do break one, I can't really accept much in the way of responsibility because these things are just old and brittle. I'm as careful as I can be, but I can't make the plastic not brittle. You know, you can maybe try and heat it up, or I suppose maybe make it a little bit softer. But you know, just what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? See, this one here is already a little bit broken anyway. Now these are 256K sims. These ones here look like ones. Two different types of ones. One with a parity chip, one without. It's a right mishmash here. I'd be very surprised if this works with this RAM in here, because you are actually supposed to put 4 of the same in each bank. So there's 2 banks. Bank A, sorry, Bank B, Bank A. And you're supposed to have 4 of the same in each one, and we clearly do not have that. So if we were to fire this up now, it would probably swear at us. There we go. Something like that. Oh, this is so scary. 5 megs of RAM was what my dad's 2CX shipped with. Yes, so that would basically be 4 ones in one and 4 256s in the other. And of course, you've got to remember that once upon a time, 5 megabytes of RAM was ample. These came out. We weren't even up to System 6. You know, we're up to what, System 5 or even 4? I'm not sure, but you know, I mean, and this is something that I found really interesting when I had my own Mac too. When I first got it, oopsie, we snapped one. Yep, that was definitely me snapping one. I'll try and do something about that. And that one's already broken off. Okay. Now this has a job number, and I'm going to write that job number onto the cell. Oh, hang on. I think I've already got a little plastic bag here. Yeah, I do. I'm going to go write the job number on this, and it is job number 54. 54. There we go. And I'll pop this RAM in here, which, as I say, I won't actually be able to use this RAM necessarily for testing it because it's mismatched pairs, or mismatched groups. Right, so there's all the bits for this one, all in one place. Yes, okay, so back to original OS System 3, find a 5.1, yeah. So when I actually had one of these Macs in the early days, I used to run it with probably System 608, maybe 605, something like that. That's what we were using at the time. And one day I got hold of the original system disk for it, or System 5 or something like that. And I think I just booted off the floppy. And I was just blown away by how fast it was. And this is a thing you always have to remind yourself. I mean, although you look at one like this, I don't know what to do with this. I mean, it's hanging off there, but it hasn't fallen off yet. I mean, if I'm going to try and glue it back on, it's going to need to come off. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to pop that in there. It is a shame, but it is just the joy of plastics getting old. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, if you were running these with, you know, sort of software of the era, they flew. I mean, you can use these today and go, my goodness, this is slow, but, you know, they were fast at the time. Okay, 7.5 is the best Mac OS. Yeah, I mean, look, if you ran System 7.5 on this, it would just be a snail. I actually have a, what do you call it, an 040 upgrade for this, which is probably what I'm going to run in mine. But yeah, I mean, so these had a 68020 CPU. So the original Macs, the SE, Mac Plus, you know, 512K, 128K, all of those had 68000 CPU. This had a 68020. There's only one other Mac that uses a 68020, and that's the LC, the original LC. This also has a 68881 floating point unit math coprocessor, and then that thing there, I can't remember what that is. Anyone want to remind me what that is? A memory manager or something like that? 68851. Can anyone... Steve will know. Steve, what's that? What's that one? What's the black one? I can't remember. Right, so first thing I'm going to do is get rid of these axial capacitors. And I'm just going to do that with the old snippety snip method. Snip. Snip. There's one. I'm going to leave bits of those pins in there. Leaving the pins in there makes it, for me, the way I do it, makes it easier to get them out. Bing. We're past the point of no return now, aren't we? Boom. And this last little one here. What's this little guy? This guy is a small writing, 10 microfarad, 16 volt. I could actually replace that with a surface mount, but you know what? For preserving the look of the thing, I'm going to keep it as an axial. There we go. Some of the Mac 2 models will let you use virtual memory. Oh, memory management unit. Okay, there we go. I thought it had something to do with memory. Can you simply put a newer CPU in the socket on the Mac 2, or must you use an upgrade card? That's a good question. I have absolutely no idea how this would behave if you put like a 6803 in it. I mean, they look the same size. 16 megahertz this is too, by the way. But yes, I'm not sure. I've never tried. But anyhow, the upgrade I have is actually in the new bus slot, which is kind of weird because the new bus is not a processor direct slot. They had to do all sorts of weirdness to get an accelerator to work in a new bus slot. For example, it has to channel the sound through new bus and out again. So apparently those accelerators have all sorts of issues with sound. So, but we'll see, because I've had a little bit of a fiddle with it, but I haven't really gone into depth with it. So, all right, so let's try and find a way of getting this done while I wrestle this massive board on the desk. And I've got a serial number right next to where I want to put some heat. That one? There we go. No? This one. Why is it black? Why is my microscope black all of a sudden? Can someone tell me? For some unknown reason, my microscope is now completely and totally not visible. I am going to attempt to rectify this issue. Let's go to there, and let's go to... Oh, it's disappeared. Okay, it's not here anymore. Oh, crikeys. Have I yanked that? It's not good. It's interesting. This this particular cable I'm using. Well, I've modified it, but I used to have problems with this cable, and I'm wondering if I have problems with it again. So there's that. That seems to be working. Let's now go to this, and there we go. All right. So there's a good chance that partway through this stream, this camera will just stop. And I will rectify that for the next stream, but this is what happens when you start using new things on a stream without proper testing, which is exactly what I have done. Now, I've got a serial number here. Some people are very precious about the serial numbers, so I need to find some way of protecting that. It feels more zoomed in than usual. It is more zoomed in than usual. Something has happened here. Sorry about this, guys. This is real clunky stuff going on here. Bum, 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 bum. Just remember, don't change anything before a live stream. Otherwise, you end up doing ridiculous things like that. Okay, so I think the data path will probably prohibit an 030 from running really well. I think you're probably right. Use the heat tape on the sticker. That is what I'm going to try. I think I might need to do a little bit more than that as well. Might stick something metal on there because, yeah, I just sort of feel like that's probably not going to be enough. So let's get some heat tape on it first. There's just there are links in the description for this tape. It's called Captain tape, and it is heat resistant, and it's kind of handy stuff to have around for all sorts of things. But I am hoping that might help us a little, and then I'll put that little piece of metal that I just had here, like that, and I'll hope that might give us enough protection not to melt that serial number. The lengths we go to, for protecting serial numbers. Production quality is declining. Yeah, absolutely. Everything going downhill here. You hit 3,000 subs and then you just stop caring, eh? Smells. Okay, so these particular caps, just worth mentioning, these are the same that's on some of those early SE30s. They have this yellow, what do you call it, sort of far out. They had this yellow label around the outside of the cap. And as a result, that label melts and goes sticky, and then it gets stuck to your tweezers like that. And then you... yeah, it's gone. Now, how's the serial number looking? Oh, look at that. Largely unscathed. This is one that has these little white blobs here. That's adhesive. We are going to have to take that off. It would have been good to do that while it was still hot, because this stuff comes off really easily when it's hot. And I've just removed all the tape. So I'm going to just get this hot enough to remove it. Off. Off. There we go. Hot. There we go. That's enough. That's it off. The rest will come off with the flux and the solder and all that sort of stuff. David Green, hello. Let's just have a quick look on here and see how many... we've got 29 peeps here at the moment, so thank you to everyone for joining. I am going to try and keep this interesting. You know, I mean, it's all relative, of course. If you're someone who has zero interest in A, recapping, or B, Vintage Macs, I'm not sure there's much I can do to make this interesting. But if you are interested in these things, I will try and keep this as interesting as possible. Right, let's get rid of these. I generally try, when they're in groups, I try and remove the whole group at the one time. So I've got 3 caps here. And I do them all at one time because the hot air tends to get the board warm, and that makes the next one easier to come off. These are things I mention quite regularly in my live streams. But 1, 2, 3. As I often mention in my live streams, I like to use hot air to remove these. I feel it's the safest way of doing it. Probably what do you call them? Solder tweezers would be quite good. One of the problems with these really old ones is this solder gets incredibly crusty, and the hot air does a better job of getting that whole area hot to then get it removed. So when you generally hit this stuff with a soldering iron, it just goes rock hard. It doesn't really melt terribly well. So if you are going to use solder tweezers, you probably need to add a fair bit of new solder, fresh solder first, and then remove them. But as I say, for these old crusty ones, I think the hot air works the best. I have never and will never recommend the twist-off method or the cut-off method. I have plenty of people jumping onto these things and saying to me, hey, I used it and it worked fine. And I say, good for you. Keep doing it as long as you like. I honestly don't mind, but I am not going to do it myself. And the main reason why is because I have had to repair boards from people who have used those methods and torn pads off. So yes, you might get, I don't know, maybe 80%, 90%, whatever, depending on how long you do it. If you keep twisting the pads off, one day, I promise you, you will, if you keep twisting the caps off, one day you will tear a pad. I pretty much guarantee it. Goodbye, cap. Come on. You want to come off? There we go. Yeah. Twist off worked for me until it didn't. Yes, my exact point. Okay, all right, let's have a look here. No flux. Well, I probably should, but no. At this particular point, I'm happy to just kind of remove these without the flux. I'll add the flux during the cleaning process. And one thing I do want to mention, Steve, is because having watched your live stream the other day, Mac84 guys, if you haven't subscribed, jump on. please, because he does a lot of this stuff as well. But watching your stream the other day where you were dealing with some pretty crusty looking pads on your board, and I was just sort of watching you. You were being very, very gentle, which is good, but I think you can put a little bit more aggression into your scraping with your blade when you're getting rid of some of that that crunchy stuff. So, but anyhow, it looks like we're going to have a fair bit of that going on today because this one is a right mess. This board is so big it's annoying. It's annoying. Wow, this one smells. I'm going to just move this. I've got to point this around that way. Oh, fluff. Okay, how's the moth? You're leaving behind all the adhesive dots. Yeah, I know. I know. I know. I know. I know. I'll have to, I'm going to have to deal with those after, aren't I? Off she comes. Alright, I'm going to get this one. Oh, God. It doesn't help with the fact that these things keep getting stuck to my tweezers. Yeah. Get all this yellow gunk stuck on here. Oh, Oz Retrocomp, hello. 0 Rossmans of flux today. There will be plenty of Rossmans going on later, I promise you. Kind of what Ruth told me to do it. Yes, scraping, not gouging. It's very, very important to keep that in mind. The main threat to pads when you're cleaning them up is the heat. So you need to be obviously super, super careful when you are either using the, sort of the solder or the wick, with your soldering iron, because the pad is stuck onto the board with the type of adhesive. There's a chicken about to say hello. And so when you apply heat, that adhesive softens, and that's what makes those pads really easy to remove. When you're not applying heat, those pads are reasonably strong on there, so you can do a bit of scraping. Not gouging, but scraping. So anyhow, as I say, we're going to be going through that and then some with this lot, because, I mean, crikey, look at it. Crikey. Oh, God, I hate how big this board is. Just annoys me. I do have a very limited amount of space here. I have a very small desk. I need a bigger one, but I just don't have anywhere to put it at this time. Farewell, capacitor. Sometimes these are a little bit tricky to get off because they've got that component adhesive on them, and you have softened the solder, but it's still stuck on there. But you still don't want to yank too hard because you then you might just be the adhesive, but it might actually be the pad as well. Ooh, look at these ones! Oh, we've got some trace repair coming. There's a very, very different look between just these black spots. You can see these black spots along here. I can say fairly confidently that they are going to still be intact. But if we scroll down here, look at that. See the green here and the black lifted up off the surface? That copper is gonskis. No copper there. So we're going to have to run a new trace repair along there. So, yay! Guess what that is? That's a fuse. This is going to need some time in the ultrasonic, that's for sure. Alright, getting there. Keep removing caps. I need a bigger studio. I do need a bigger studio, don't I? As I had mentioned before, this does look like a shed, but it's actually a very expensive and elaborate studio designed to look like a shed. Okay, Far out. Off. Got some more horrendous trace damage along here. Oh, and here, and here, and my goodness, this could turn into a Steve stream. Wowzers. Right. Yep. Recapping is really only a very small part of this job, by the looks of things. I may not finish this today for that reason. I don't want to, you know, sort of disappoint anyone, but I do want to have a quick look at that other board that I mentioned before. And this does look like it's got a lot of trace repair to be done. Okay. I think we've got one more left to remove, and then we're good to go. And then I'll just take out all the pins, and then we're going to have to assess the situation. This may even... Oh, two more caps to remove. We may even need to... what's that? We may need to ultrasonic it, just to reveal how bad the problem is. I'm seeing trace damage everywhere I look now, which is upsetting. I mean, look at that. Once you start seeing green floating on these traces, you know you're in trouble. You know you're in strife. Now, it's, in my opinion, it is worth fixing. I mean, obviously there's additional costs involved. I can't do this sort of level of trace repair and only charge for a recapping. It's going to cost more. There's no doubt about that. But I think, given the rarity of these particular computers these days, I think it is worth doing. Someone might disagree with me, but I think an old Mac II is a very important part of Apple's history, and I think that it's worth preserving and keeping it going. There we go. Last of these stupid sticky caps. Hate them. Clean your desk. I did. Don't know. I did clean. Haven't you noticed? I had a Skype with you just the other day. You must have noticed that the desk is clean now. Surely. Okay, so here we go. Where are we going? All right, sorry, I'm way behind in the chat. I'm going to have to get back here. Okay, all right, here we go. Did I say hello to Neil? I don't think I did. Hello, Neil. Thank you for joining. Do you ever have caps exploding when using hot air? Yes, I do. I sure do. I did a board last night, an LC575. It's actually just in the oven. It's all ready for testing. And yes, I got two massive poppers during that one. So that's always fun when that happens. I don't think it happens on these really, really old ones. I've never had these ones go. I mean, it's maybe they're made differently, or maybe it's just because they're so old, they're not sealing very well, and so they don't build up that pressure inside, something like that. But yeah, definitely. Capacitor? Capacitor, is that what he says, doesn't he? Do you like Hacko tools? Yeah, sort of. If I could redesign this particular soldering iron, I would. This is the FX951 that I use. Links in the description. I think it has the dumbest interface ever made. But I really like... My God, that's grubby. I need to clean that. I really like T12 tips. I like the heat that it gets. I like the speed that it heats up. I like its sleep function. I like lots of things about it. I like how light this is and easy to hold. It's, you know, there are things I like about it, but what I don't like about it is I don't like the interface, and I don't like the fact that they look like Fisher Price toys. So you know, they basically just look like kids' toys because they're, you know, this blue and yellow kids' toy type thing. I also don't like the fact that I'm just turning on my heater, so I'm cold. It's quite cold here today, so this is my little heater that I have under the desk to keep my legs warm. Oh yes, the other. Calm down. The other thing I really don't like is the key. There's a key in the front because these are designed, I guess, to be used by, you know, poor factory souls that aren't allowed to adjust their own temperature. There's obviously some sort of standards that they work with. You know, when you've probably got some instruction manual. When you're soldering, you solder at, I don't know, whatever temperature, and they lock that into the soldering unit, and then they take away the key so that the person using the soldering iron can't adjust the temperature. Now that would annoy me terribly, but then again, I don't live in a country where that sort of behaviour would go on. Oopsie. There we go. So yeah. Anyhow, right. Doing on right now, I believe. Yeah, sure. Time for tea and digestives. Sounds good. Digestives. I'm actually going to end up getting so hungry because I didn't have breakfast today. So, all right, let's get these pesky pins out. I have a method of doing that where I apply flux, I apply solder, excuse me, and I then whip them out with a pair of tweezers, like this. So I've added some flux to the pin. I am then going to add some solder to the pin and to my iron, like this. Okay. There we go. Out she comes. Then I've just got to clear out that hole a little bit. We're just basically getting the solder to wrap around the pin. That just gets all the heat to where we want. This one's heating a lot slower, which means it's on a ground, because the ground is generally a great big line of, you know, big flat bit of copper on it, either inside or on the back. And that sucks away all the heat that I'm applying to it. And that's exactly what's happening here now. It's just not getting hot. Come on. Don't vex me. Come on. Come on. I said, come on. I might need to come at this from the other side. All right. What happened to the traces? Electrolytic damage. Yeah, it's probably a combination of things. It's either which are essentially the same thing. It's an electrolyte either come out of the battery, or it's electrolyte come out of the capacitors. And yeah, it's sometimes they get little splatters on them, and then they create those dots. But yeah, that's basically what happens, and it eats through the UV coating on the outside, and then it just gobbles up the copper from inside, and it's not good. Not good at all. No, sir. Is that it there? No. Surely not. Where's the pin? Where? No. 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 There. It is there. Are you serious? You super cereal? That's not right. Okay. Yep, it's there. That's it there. I thought it would be a much larger, big piece of ground. It doesn't appear to be. But anyhow, I'm going to apply some new solder to this. It's always very counterintuitive. I've mentioned this many times before. It's very counterintuitive to add solder to things you want to remove solder from. But the new solder does make a difference. It helps get the heat where you want it. Helps to get that pin melting the way I want it. So let's just see how we go now. Sorry about all this. Someone's going to get motion sickness from this. Stupid big board. The only other board that's bigger than this, I think, is the 900 or the 950. Quadra 900, 950. They are just massive. Now, I'm going to see if I can coax this little guy out. Let's go. Coax. Come on. What's the matter with you? This is ridiculous. I'll spend most of the stream just getting this bloody pin out. What's all that about? Okay, more flux. More solder. Let's get some fresh stuff on here as well. Is your ultrasonic cleaner big enough for a board as large as the Mac 2? Absolutely not. This is something I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. I'm actually in the process. Came out, yay! I'm in the process of making my own ultrasonic cleaner, because the problem with most of the ultrasonic cleaners that you buy, just the off-the-shelf ones, the bigger they get, they kind of don't get bigger in one dimension. They get bigger in all dimensions. They're a little bit wider, a little bit deeper, a little bit, and what that means is that even if I've got a 10 litre, even if I was to go to a 30 litre, I still can't fit this in, because they don't just get really wide or become like the shape of a toaster or something like that. They just get bigger all around. I'd still have to do this board in 2 halves in a 30 litre. So what I've actually done is I've bought a stainless steel tray, and I'm going to put ultrasonic transducers under it, and I'm going to make my own one that is, better suited to this this size board. I will be making a video on that process when I get to it. I'm just waiting for some of the parts to arrive from China. And when they arrive, I will do a little video of putting the thing together and testing it out and all that sort of stuff and things and such. That didn't work too well. All that. God, this is so grubby. I'm going to need to scrape that. I'm meant to be able to see copper here. You can't see it. No, sir. I might be, given how bad this is here. I mean, look at the rust on that. Oh my goodness. Goodness gracious. I might be better off actually sticking a surface mount on this, because you can see we've got pins for it. And I just think that I'm going to have to do trace repair if I use a... I mean, look at that. That's just rusted through there. I mean, there's probably still some copper under it, but it is definitely rusted. You can see that. That's all rust there. That's bad. Yeah. Because this stuff has to be cleaned in order for solder to stick to it. I need to stick new solder on there. The new solder is not going to stick to rust. I can promise you that. So I've got a sneaking suspicion that our best option with this one is to just use a surface mount cap on there. And I do hope the owner doesn't mind. Custom-made ultrasonic cleaner make a lot of sense. You'll probably avoid a lot of ultrasonic cleaning fluid wastage as well. Yeah. Yeah. I do go through quite a lot of ultrasonic cleaning fluid, because a lot of the boards I'm sent are really dusty. Right. Okay. Bar fridge in the studio. You have snacks and things. Yeah, I do. My wife actually said I'll bring some food down for you. I was like, I'm not going to eat in a live stream. How annoying would that be? Burezu 1605. Hello to you. I don't think I've said hello. Is your ultrasonic... Yeah, no, I've already answered that. Clean that bench in the background. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but where does all the stuff go? I mean, I've got things here. I don't know where to put all the things. The biggest issue I have at the moment is logic board storage. I've got to do something about that. I've got so many logic boards here. Okay, knows. Well, the sad Mac error code is on my SEFTH. It's giving me means I'm getting two. One is B, and then 449. Okay. Okay, Michael, going home soon. Okay, no worries. Just pop down this slide and music up for a few minutes while you eat. Yes, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, so the Nick Morpheus, NK Morpheus, There is a website, if you search for SADMAC error codes, there is one that goes in and tells you what they mean. I don't know it off the top of my head. But if you do a search for SADMAC error codes, that you will find a link there where they go in and they show what the 2 rows mean and what they are. I mean, you know, most of the time it's either a ROM-related issue or a RAM-related issue. Most of the time it's either a RAM-related issue or a ROM-related issue, in that order. So, but it can be other things, of course. Excuse me. Oh, I hate when I drop things off this table. Oh, yes, they would. People, there'd be an outrage. There'd be an outrage. 40 viewers. Oh, just dipped down to 39. Who left? Just very quickly, I should mention while I'm doing this, if you like this video, please like it. If you don't like it, please give it the thumbs down. Or stop watching. I mean, just being logical here. Okay. I'm swapping blades. This one's lost the tip, and I need a nice sharp tip for what I'm doing here at the moment. I do have links to these scalpel blades that I use. Unfortunately, they can get quite expensive. I bought a whole stack of these for really cheap, so I'm laughing for ages. But I have been told that you can buy curved X-Acto blades. So the main thing is I recommend using a curved blade because I just find them really good for scraping. And when you've got a board like this, you're going to have to do a lot of scraping. Scrapity, scrapity, scrape. I mean, look at this. Look at it. Rust galore. Can I tell you the wording that my customer used when they sent me this board? Slight battery leak. Slight. Yeah, right. Yeah. Geez, I hope mine isn't this bad. I don't have to go through this all again. Let this be the bad one, please. And because everything I expose here, what I'm doing here is when I scrape off that UV mask, I need to do one of two things. I either need to put new mask on, or I need to tin the copper. And tinning it meaning, you know, get a coating of solder on it. It's essential because if you just leave this copper exposed, it will corrode. It will oxidize and it will go green and it will eventually break and it will be bad. And no one will be happy. And there'll be tears. And there'll be a Mac 2 not working. And then, you know, world in crisis. Look at that one. Look at that great big holy lump of rust in there. Look at me, Steve. I'm gouging. Not that I can do much worse to that, to be honest. I might even need to get the Dremel out to get some of this mask off. I mean, oh, wow, look at that. You have one like this. Please don't power it up. Get it seen to first. Wow. I have done one of these with a similar sort of problem before. It involved quite a lot of tracer repair. And I was just thinking, oh, there's no way this thing is ever going to work. And it worked beautifully after all the tracer repair. Some computers seem to be more, what's the word, robust when it comes to doing these sorts of repairs. Others are really finicky, like the 840AV. 840AV has got to be one of the finickiest boards out there. I mean, you just look at that thing wrong and it stops working. It's obviously something to do with the way they were designed, the way they were made, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, those things... I got sent one for repair, and unfortunately the person who had a crack at recapping it themselves were very heavy-handed with the removal of the caps. And they did quite a bit of damage to some traces, which I have gone and repaired, but Oh, look, I can see something here. Oh, JJ Brewmaker, thank you very much for the, what do you call it, super chat. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. And thank you for jumping on and saying hello. Sonny Foster, hello. I should, Sonny Foster, do you want to, you don't have to, but did you want to jump on and tell people the awesome thing that you got recently? I'm pretty impressed with it. Sonny Foster is someone I have done some recapping for in the past. So, grab a coffee when you're done. Thank you very much. Okay. It's not really French, is it? I was Retrocon. Or tone, as I should say. You're about to send me something, aren't you, Tone? I can't remember what it was. It was is it an Amiga, I think? Oh god, there's more of these traces. Alright, okay, we'll come back to the traces. Let's get all these pins out. Let's stick to the original plan. These are the pins for the batteries now. So I'm going to do that now. A little bit of flux. This is the flux that I don't like, that I'm just trying to use up. A1200, yep, no worries. So I've got the A1200. Now, quick question for you, Tone. I have recently been made aware of and done a mod on an A600, which uses virtually the same composite video encoder. Not virtually, it uses the same. I mean, the schematic's the same and everything. So, the Amiga 1200 uses a little composite encoder. So that's where it takes the RGB signal and turns it into a composite video output for the composite output on the computer if you want to run it on a television or something like that. Now, they have a little delay circuit on them and they fail, and those components aren't replaceable. Though, to my knowledge, no one has any new ones. Someone has come up with this rather nifty little mod where you replace the original encoder with a different encoder. You remove a few components, you put a little resistor in place, and it's a mod that effectively bypasses the delay circuit. And it means that component, which is bound to fail because they all do, it means you're bypassing it, and then it means you can maintain your RGB output signal. Now, I do offer this as a mod if you want me to do it to your A1200, but obviously there's a cost involved, and you would probably only do that if you do want to use the A1200 from time to time with a television set, because a lot of people generally use monitors with their Amiga 1200s because the picture out on the TV is pretty awful. So anyhow, I just, food for thought, you don't have to answer now, but at some stage, if you, when I have that board, if you would like me to do that mod, update it, so that it will continue to give you composite video output for years to come, please let me know. So, okay, there we go. Now let's get these pins out. Get some solder and some heat. Heat is our friend. Come on. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Right. Okay, so I just want everyone to know, just straight off the bat, I already hate this board. So, and I can't see my love for it getting any better. It's been fighting me all the way, getting pins out and whatnot. And it's got corroded traces, which I know are going to just be a huge amount of work. Okay, here we go. Yeah, do the upgrade. Cool, no worries. It would be nice to use the A12 TV if need be. Yep, cool, excellent. Yep, well, I'll do it. I have the chips here already, the replacement encoder chips. Basically, take the old encoder chip on, put a new encoder chip on, and then just do a couple of little, almost invisible mods to the board to make it so that it doesn't use that delay circuit. So there we go. And now I'm starting to get really annoyed. I must be on the negative side. There we go, that one came out. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we go. Got one out. Because needless to say, I need these holes to be empty because I'm going to stick a new battery holder on it. Come at this from the other side. There we go. Look at that. And this one here. Oh, that was an easy one. Look at that. What's all that about? Oh, I said that. Now it won't come out. Must be bent over on the other side. Okay, I'm going to have to flip them over and see if I can do something about that. It took some time to find the drivers, but works correctly. Yeah, okay, so scored a Supermax 16 megahertz card for my Mac SE. So, yes, so that's a really, really cool thing. So that is obviously a Macintosh SE, which has, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, 7 megahertz 680, 7 megahertz 680, 68,000 CPU. And this is one that upgrades it to 16 megahertz. So, it's pretty cool. And of course, those sorts of accelerators, they're so hard to find these days. Here's the pin. Look, yeah, the pin is bent. So I'm going to try and push him through. Some more solder on there. Yeah, this is you know, well, actually, I should mention that I've actually been a little bit slack with my my streaming lately, and for that I apologise. But Steve, wow, been getting a stream a day from him. Should consider ourselves all extremely lucky. But of course, I don't blame him because he's got a flash microscope nowadays. Not to mention the fact that, for those who haven't watched the stream, Steve got hold of an SE30. And what came as a huge surprise to me, Steve has never had an SE30. And it's like, say what? So, yeah, so this SE30 needs a little bit of work. As do a lot of vintage Macs, like the one I'm working on right this very second. But it is an SE30, and I have complete confidence in Steve's ability to repair it. So I think he'll be using his new SE30 in no time at all. All right. Out you come. Your time in this board's coming to an end. There we go. That was the hard one. And it's the easy one that was bent. There we go. Gone. Yeah. Okay. Steve's got a fever, and the only cure is more streaming. SE is 8 megahertz, cool. Accelerator doubles for 16. So yeah, effectively doubling the CPU speed. That is awesome. It's great to get hold of those old accelerators. I mean, I had a Mac Classic back in the day, and I had a little, I can't remember what brand it was, but it was an accelerator Classic that upgraded it to an 030 instead of a 68000. It just made such a difference in the thing. Anything tried to beat even without capacitors? I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Test live stream. Test live stream. Okay. Beautiful clear case for that SE30. That's interesting. I've never been particularly interested in those clear cases. I can totally understand why people want them, and I can see if they, in particular, if they want to turn their SE into something ornamental, put it on a table or something with to see through it and everything. But I'm just a fan of the original cases for these things. I'm a little bit boring like that. So, but as I say, I don't criticise anyone else for those clear cases that they get made up. I've seen those for the older Apple IIs as well. Come on. There, clear. Clear. This one's going to suck. Getting the solder out of this one is really going to suck. I just know that. I'm just not getting enough heat there. So, here's a little trick that I use with these real problematic ones. I mentioned this one to Steve, Mac84, the other day. And it did work for him, and I'm hoping it will work for me as well. So I'm going to take my normal, soldering iron tip away. This is the one I use normally. This is a T12BC2. All of the links and everything are in the description if people want to buy one for their soldering iron. I really like using the beveled edge because I like having that flat part for getting heat where I want. But I've got this great big fat beveled one here, and this one is like, see, look at the size of the monster. And I'm going to apply some flux. And SE30 with big mess of wires is a dream. Yeah, I've got an SE30. I've got a big mess of wires Rominator as well. Here it is here. For anyone who's not aware, this is called a Rominator, Rominator II, and then it is a replacement ROM. And this one actually has, like, it's programmable, so you can actually put stuff on there. You can boot into it as well if you want, so you don't even need a hard drive. You can boot into this on your SE30. Great little thing to have. I haven't put that in my SE30. I'm kind of keeping it floating around so I can use it for testing other people's computers, because people do sometimes send me their computers without the ROM chip. And then I'm like, hey, you didn't send me the ROM chip. Oh, did you need that? It's like, oh, yeah, okay. So that's why I got one of those. Right, so here we go. We've got solder, we've got our wick, and we've got a humongous tip to try and get as much heat into this hole as possible and suck that solder out. Come on. Come on. Not helping, is it? Just not doing it. I'll know when it does because it kind of just suddenly glistens. It's just not happening. What the? I might try it from the other side, might have better luck. I think it might be because this is a little bit dirty. Dirty. Let's clean some of that stuff off. As I say, we do have to put new battery holders in here. So this is a big job. I'm just saying this is a big job. So, you know. Sorry. All right, let's see what happens now. Can I get it? Can I get it? I don't think I'm all the way through, but it's definitely helped. Let's see if I'm all the way through. I'll try and poke something through it. I've got myself a pin here. It's a needle, actually. And nope, definitely not all the way through. Son of a bitch. All right, let's try it from the other side. Hole, hole, hole. No hole. Okay. Right. So let's. I'm going to make sure that when I give tips, they actually work. Oh, that looks like scary. Yeah, came through. That's exciting. Oh, what does it say about your day when that's the most exciting thing that happens? Right. We've got a few more of these pins to remove. Hopefully those other ones will not be as hard, but I will keep the large tip on my iron just in case I need it. So here's a pin. I really hate these ones when there isn't solder. See how the solder here is, it's on the pin, and you can see it actually, you know, kind of coming down like a buttress onto the hole. Whereas this one here, the solder is inside the hole. It's not actually on the pin itself up the top. And they're a lot easier to remove when the solder is up the top as well. All right. Do the Mac 2, I said. It's going to be fun, I said. Gosh. Gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. I've lost my tweezers again. Thankfully, I have heaps of them. Once again, I'm going to have to come at that one from the other side because that one's out. That one was nice and easy. They were only all that easy, like a Sunday morning. That's through. Yep, I can see the table through it, so that's through. Oh, half the nursing home I live in has a Rona. Oh, well, I do hope for your sake that you have a speedy recovery. It's not something that I would really wish on anyone. I tell you, that sounds pretty nasty. Nursing homes do seem to be quite the breeding ground for the Rona, don't they? Okay. Whoopsie. There we go. There's one. And let's see if we can get this out. This great big iron tip really does help when you're getting the solder out of these holes. And I do have a solder sucker machine, but I have found that even though I go through a mountain of wick doing this, I have found it's more successful for these ones using the method that I am currently using. Try and make sense of that. I don't know. Oh, look at this. Ron's computer videos. Thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you. Preserving history and bringing these old Macs back to life. Well, I'll tell you what, I sure hope I do with this one, but this one's fighting me. This particular Mac 2 has some troubles. Certainly does. It's going to definitely take some time. And as I did mention at the beginning of the stream, or it wasn't at the beginning, partway through the stream, I may not finish this whole thing in this stream. And the reason for that is that there is a huge amount of work here. And I did actually want to do a second part of this stream for people that might still be watching. I totally understand if you're not. I know that I do try and do these streams as much as possible to have some sort of overlap. From my perspective, the best time for me to stream would probably be the middle of the afternoon, but that then becomes very, very late, particularly for people on the east coast of the US. And I do like to try and live stream at a time that suits my US viewers, because there are many of them. And they are all very supportive of the work that I do, which is very nice. So I do try and stream. Oh, there was a chicken saying hello. Don't know if you guys can hear that, but that is one of my chickens that has clearly got something to say. They normally make noise like that when a predator comes by, like a predatory bird or a cat or something like that. They're not actually threatened by them because chickens are so friggin' big. No cat would actually waste its time with a chicken. They're just like, whoa, too big, no way. But unless they're asleep, of course, they're very vulnerable when they're asleep. Special chicken lesson today. But to be honest, I just think that those chickens do want to get on my live stream sometimes. Okay, that one's not Bernie. Bernie's fairly quiet, quite a quiet chicken. Yes, I can always take a break. Yes, I can. I mean, like, you know, I may come back and do this as a second stream. We'll see. I'm probably going to start doing some weekday streams soon. My weekday, rather than weekend, because I've got such a backlog right now. I've just got so many computers here at the moment. Hoips and hoips. I've got, what have I got? I've got an Amiga 1200. I've got another Amiga 1200 coming. I've got classic LC575. I think I've got a couple of those. It's generally the same old ones. Then of course I've got a whole stack of computers giving me grief at the moment. I've got an 840 AV which is not working properly, and a 2VX, and just lots. I've got a Color Classic that's giving me grief, an LC575 that's giving me grief. I have to start kind of thinking about how I'm going to deal with these sorts of issues in the long term. I can do a recap like one that I did last night that basically took me about, I don't know, half an hour, something like that. And recap, works, great, move on to the next one. You know, recap, clean, move on to the next one. And that's basically what my pricing structure is based around. But when you get one where it's, you know, it's not that simple, there are all sorts of problems associated with it, you have to then work out how you're going to make it so that you keep your customer happy, you're making money, you're not wasting ridiculous amounts of time, because if someone sends me a computer, here's the issue I face. If someone sends me a computer and they say, this doesn't work, I want you to recap it. And I go, okay, no problem. I'm going to recap it. I recap it and it still doesn't work. There is a real problem associated with that because, you know, you can just say, well, look, I've recapped it. It still doesn't work. You can pay for some diagnostics if you want. I'll go and have a look at it. It's going to cost you X amount of dollars. That person then turns around and says, you know what? I don't want to spend that much money. That's way too much money. I really don't want to repair it that badly. So no, thank you. Well, I've now done a recap that person's going to have to pay for a computer that doesn't work. And that in itself does become a bit of an issue. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, people just have to accept that. You can't really make any guarantees with these computers that a recap is going to fix it. It often does. Maybe 80% of the time, recap fixes it up. But there's 20% of the time where it doesn't. And I just need to make sure that when I'm in those circumstances that I still get paid for my work, that the customer is still happy, without sort of creating problems with the, with the relationship with my customers. So anyhow, that's I'm just prattling. Sorry. And the other thing I need to do is I need to get people to stop sending me monitors. I don't want monitors. I don't have space to keep them. All right, so let's have a quick look here. I've just been prattling all this time. Yeah, where is the star of the show, Bernie? Yeah, she does pop in every now and again, but she doesn't as much. Okay. 4,000 without having to remortgage the house instead of kidding. I'll set it in for recapping. Yeah, I mean the Amigas are just getting so expensive. It's crazy. I'd love to get a Silicon graphics workstation. And I'd love to get a Nextcube, but I don't think I'll ever make enough money to do that. 2VX Cool Machine, are they rare? Well, certainly not based on the number that gets sent to me. I get lots of 2VXs sent to me. 2VI is possibly a little bit more rare because they weren't sold in the US. They were only sold in, I think, Australia and Japan. So the 2VI is virtually the same as the 2VX, except it doesn't have a built-in floating point unit. It's slightly slower speed. It's a crappy computer. I have one, and I like it, but you know, I mean, they weren't a good one to buy. But yeah, so the 2VI wasn't sold for very long, so it's probably fairly rare. But the 2VX, yeah, they seem to be pretty common these days. Still not a bad reason, you know, to own one. Nothing wrong with owning a 2VX. They're good. I'm going to change back to my normal soldering iron tip now. And just obviously demonstrating the fact that when you use these T12 tips, you can hold them while they're still hot. They're hot from here upwards, but down the bottom they're not. So you can swap tips while the tip is hot, which is just awesome. Okay. Putting accelerator mode 1200 and leave it at that. Yeah, understandable. Okay. why I send the Amigas into Bruce for recapping. I have to say the Amigas are not a fun one to recap. I'm still happy to do them, don't get me wrong. I'm not sort of saying to people, oh, don't send me an Amiga, but Amigas are a difficult one to recap. And the reason why they're difficult is because they have lots and lots of, well, first of all, they have lots of caps that are packed really, really close to each other. And the other is they have caps that are very close to plastic. So when you're soldering, you have to be super, super, super careful to make sure that you don't, accidentally melt plastic while you're recapping. So this is the little trick that I use with really grubby pads. The first thing I do is I get new solder and flux and heat, and I just rub around like this until I can see the solder is sticking to the whole pad. And then I grab my solder wick. I'm just going to jump across here for a second. Oh, 45 viewers. That's got to be a record for me. Hello to everyone. If you haven't jumped on and said hello, please say hello. If you said hello and I didn't reply, my apologies. I do miss them sometimes. It is not personal. Always happy to say hello and always happy to answer questions. If anyone has any questions about anything that I'm doing or the way I'm doing or any vintage Mac questions, I will always do my best to answer while I'm doing this stuff. Help make it more interesting as I go. Now I'm going to suck up all that solder from the pads here. Okay, Andrew H4. Hi, Bruce. Greetings from Canada. I know, Andrew. I have just recently sent a package to Andrew with two SCSI 2 SDs and 3 floppy eject gears. Is that the same, Andrew? These are starting to look pretty clean. Julian Clark, hello from Queensland. Hello to you. I hope it's warmer there than it is at the moment. Here, it's cold as here. That's why I've got my little heater under the desk here, keeping the tootsies warm. Okay. I'm going to supply some heat here so I can get that adhesive off. There we go. Okay. Right, so just cleaning up here. Yes, it's the same Andrew. There you go. I actually, I bought a batch of SCSI 2 SDs quite recently, and they just sold like that. That would be snapping my fingers if I didn't have a cotton bud in there. Yeah, I'm going to have to buy some more because people have just been contacting me saying, oh, I've heard you sell SCSI 2 SDs. It's like, yeah, I do, but I just sold them all. The difference with SCSI 2 SDs, the way I do them, is I sell them already formatted, installed with software, ready to just up and go. And if Michael Mullett is still watching, we will get yours sorted, I promise you. Because I do know that yours does work, because I tested it on mine before I sent it to you and it worked beautifully. So we've just got to work out what's going on. You know, generally, if you're in a situation where it worked here and it doesn't work there, we just have to find out what the difference is. What is different that's making it not work for you? So anyhow. Now, as you can see, I've just exposed this trace here. I'm now going to tin it with a little bit of solder. I'm going to get the old wick, and then I'm going to have to UV coat it, and we're going to use my fancy laser. I got a laser beam. I'm going to use my fancy laser for the first time in a live stream. Right. Okay, here we go. Right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Exciting, isn't it? And I can tell the excitement. I can feel it. I have to get this totally clean before I put the UV solder mask on. If it's still got any grease or flux or anything left behind, the UV mask won't stick properly. So, 73 degrees Fahrenheit in Ohio. I am afraid I am a Celsius country, and so I'm not even sure whether that's hot or cold or what. So, sorry. Okay. Oh, it's freezing. Oh, that's a shame. East Coast US, captivating to see a guy so open and passionate about his work. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Retro Techie, hi Bruce, love your content. Thank you, thank you. Julian is saying that it is freezing in Queensland. That's a shame. Just for people who don't know where Queensland is, I'm in New South Wales. Queensland is the state north of me, and so it's a lot closer to the tropics. So it is typically a lot warmer there than it is here, but we are in the middle of winter. So Manu's YouTube site. Hello from... I assume there's a location coming soon. It's warmed up a bit here, 6.4 degrees Celsius in Adelaide Hills. Oh, that's cold. No. Hovering around 5 degrees Celsius for most of the morning and most of yesterday. No, I don't like that. It got down to about 9 here. That's, well, last night before I went to bed. That's cold enough for me, thank you. 9 Celsius. Package is still sitting at the post office. Hopefully they start moving soon. Yeah, one of the big problems that's happening with stuff going overseas here is that there aren't as many flights going out. So the packages are basically just sitting there waiting for flights to go. They have been going and they've been getting faster. The last few packages that I've sent out have definitely gone way faster than they were. But yeah, that's just it's the Rona. It's because of the Rona. Why I decided to put a SCSI? I figure you've got enough going on as it is. Okay. PowerBook SCSI SD nearly sold out everywhere now. For those that are on the fence, get in while you can. Yeah. So I don't know if he's getting any more. This is Michael McMaster. He's in Queensland as well. Actually, he's the creator of the SCSI II SD, and he does make a PowerBook version. And yeah, I mean, he's got a couple left in stock there, maybe 5 or something. I don't know if he's replacing them, when he's replacing them. But yeah, that's a bit of a shame. Now it's down to 5.8 degrees. No. I'm taking off to Slumberland Night All. Trina, thank you for joining. I'm sorry I went on for so long. It's good. Version 5, not for my Mac Plus, but for my Deck Alpha server as well. Yeah, look, the 5.5, in my experience, doesn't fire up on the Plus without external power. So you have to power it via USB. In my opinion, I think the floppy EMU is better for the Plus, but there's a cost involved with those, and of course they only work on a Plus 128K, 512K, those early Macs with a floppy drive connector. So I totally understand if you're wanting to use it with multiple machines, that a SCSI II SD is a better way to go. But just be aware that the 5.5, in the testing that I've done, when you plug it in to the external SCSI, on a Plus, the Plus does not give out enough power on the SCSI bus to power the SCSI II SD, and then you are you then have to power it via USB. So just be aware of that. 22, that'd be nice. John Harmer, hello, welcome. It needs external power for the Plus, so there you go. So anyhow. With my Plus, I use a floppy EMU, and I like those. So here we go. Let's get some UV solder mask onto these traces here, and then we'll cook them with the laser beam. Pew, 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 pew. Pew, pew, pew. Yes, I can quite understand wanting to justify it on using it on multiple machines. I can absolutely... It's funny, I've got an Apple IIc here. One of the main reasons I don't use it is because I don't have a decent monitor for it. And I don't have one of those little things that allows you to take that PAL signal and turn it into something useful to put on a TV set. If I plug it onto a TV set or a monitor or whatever, the picture is just horrendous on the 2C. I did have an opportunity to buy one of those little monitors recently, but at the time that opportunity came up, I had no money. And I kicked myself that I would have loved to have had it, those little white ones that sit on the stand. I would have loved to have had that. Okay, laser beam time. Pew, pew, pew. Okay, so this is my UV laser. If anyone is ever wanting to do some of this themselves, and you are looking to buy one of these, I don't have links in the video yet, but I will add them. It is a, what is it? Is it nanometer? NM 405 NM. It's probably nanometer, which is the wavelength. It's 405 NM UV laser 1 milliwatt. That's what I've got here at the moment. The only difference with what I'm using is I have actually wired mine up to my bench power supply, so I don't need to go through batteries to use it. And this just outputs quite a strong and concentrated UV light right where I want it, and cures this mask really, really quickly. And in the past, for those who have watched my streams before, when I put a bit of UV mask on there, I then say, oh, okay, we're going to sit this outside and we'll come back to it later on, and I do something else. Well, this way I can just cure this while I'm having a nice little chat. And if I now grab my scalpel, you can see that it's a cured. There is a cure. Just got to make sure it's all there. So anyhow, I can then put my new capacitors on that, and that's all good. I've still got some pins in here that I didn't do. Sorry, guys. So sorry. Gotta get all the pins. Get all the pins. Get all the pins. Okay. On Steve's advice, I just ordered my SCSI 2 SD 5.5. Uh-oh. Steve's advice. What? No, that's good. So what are you going to use it with? Christopher, is it Bourne? Sorry, my vision ain't too good. Missed out on a 2C monitor for $40. Ugh. Somebody bought it locally before me. Bastard. 5.5 is a good external one if you want. The internal is 5.1 is a good one. The only thing I don't like about the 5.1 is the fact that its form factor, its shape. It's a really weird size. It doesn't just go onto a normal 3.5 inch sort of bracket on a computer. You need to actually get a separate bracket. That I don't like. That's why I opt for the version 5.0. I do actually have somewhere here. Did I bring it with me? Oh no, here it is. There's a version 5.5 right there. SCSI 2 SD version 5.5. The only difference with this one, I've modified it slightly, and then I've shaved some plastic off here because the case on it stops it from going into the back of a 2CI, and I need it to be able to go into the back of a 2CI, so I shaved some plastic off there so that I could do that. So that's it there. Nice little thing, cute little thing. Not the fastest SCSI 2 SD out there, but extremely useful. I have this with a System 7.1 on there with a bunch of enablers, and this works on lots and lots and lots of old Macs as it is. Just put it in there, boot it up, away we go. I mean, for instance, it will work with this. It will work with this device here now. Oops, wrong one. That's the one I want. Right. Okay, I've got a few moment. Bought some cap kits. Just have to get around to testing and recapping them if required. Videos, great. Thank you. You are most welcome. Yes, I hope it all goes well. I hope you get them all recapped and working, and I hope that these videos do assist in that process. It is my aim as much as possible to sort of help people, if they're thinking about doing it, or just to get some confidence and maybe learn a few little tips that I might have acquired over the years, or learn what not to do, as the case might be. Come on. Get out. Come out. Come out. Come out. You can see all of this green here. This is a lot of copper around this pin, and that's sucking a lot of the heat away. It's making it hard to get that out. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'll suck all the solder out of this hole, and then I'm going to flip the board over again, and we will all get motion sickness. There we go. Nope, nearly. There we go. Whew. Okay, all right. I may as well clean this while I'm here. Get some flux on there. Get some solder. And we will just use the old dousing it in solder and giving it a little circular motion and just gently rubbing those pads. We're being super gentle. The reason being, as I mentioned before, when you apply heat to these pads, it does soften the adhesive that's holding them onto the board. So if you get a little bit heavy-handed, the next thing you know, those pads are coming off. But what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to make it so that we get to a point where the pad is able to adhere to solder over the whole pad rather than just a bit of it. And that will just make the process of putting the new caps on way easier. So, and we just get all of that solder off. We want to just be left with nice shiny pads all ready for new components. And I just did most of that off camera. Sorry, people. Whoopsie. So as much as I'm starting to dislike this board, I have to say that the Mac II is still one of my favourite Macs. And I think that is largely because of the historical context. I mean, number one, because it was the first Mac that I bought with my own money. And the other is that it was Apple's first modular Mac. To some extent, it was like them producing the first kind of serious computer. The compact Macs in sort of certain circles were always seen as a bit of a toy. And they weren't priced like a toy, but it's like, this little cutesy little computer with its with its small screen, small black and white screen. There's sort of an attitude that these weren't proper business tools. These were just for your artsy folks and whatnot. And the Mac II was something where it was like, no, have a look at this. Now, this is a proper, businessy type computer. Ow! I just flicked some solder on my thumb there. And as I say, I like that from a historical perspective. I'm a big fan of just vintage computer history in general. I'm very interested in it as a subject, and of course how it has changed our lives, but how it has how it all occurred and who were the key players in the birth of the personal computer industry. That's something that I do find very, very interesting. And of course, we know that Apple were very big players in that. Am I going to need my great big tip again? Am I? It's not quite through, is it? There's a little bit of solder around the edges there. Just going to check here. Oh, look, I've dropped down to 38. People are dropping off. I'm guessing they're dropping off, well, either because my content sucks, or that's a little bit too big, or because it's getting very late in their particular part of the world. Sorry about the armpit view there. Yeah, okay, so we do actually have a hole all the way through. Is that? Oh, that might not be solder. That might just be crusty stuff. Sorry, I'm just trying to clean this through here. Still here, working on making some floppies for a 512KE. Cool. Cool. What system are you going to run on that 512KE, just out of curiosity? Yep. And the 512KE has an 800K floppy drive in it, unlike the 512K, which only had a 400K. So the advantage is that you can obviously go with systems that came on a 800K floppy drive. Oh, what happened? What happened? We're doing the board yet? No, we're not actually, Jay. But I'm thinking that I might actually put this one on hold and move across to that one in a moment, because for the one reason that, well, how long have I been going for? I've been going for 1 hour and 40. I do want to have a look at that board on this stream. And this board is way more work than I can do in a single stream. So what I might do is I'm just going to do a little bit more on this. I might just clean all the pads, not put any components on. And once I've got all the pads clean, I will then move across to the other board. Cooking the missus some food. We'll be back in 10 minutes. No worries, all good. System 3 on the 512K if you're not using an HD20 or anything. Yep, for sure. I mean, as I say, on my 512KE, I use a floppy EMU. So, and I think I'm running... Crap, I can't remember what operating system I run on that one. Never mind. Yeah, so I got a 512. I thought I was buying a 512, and then when I actually ran it, I realized it had been upgraded to a 512KE, which I wasn't all that unhappy about, to be honest. I mean, some people who are strict collectors, they go, that's not a 512K, it's a 512KE, even though it looks like a 512K, it's a 512KE. And they're right, you know, I mean, from a collector's perspective, but there is real practical advantage in being able to read 800K floppy disks. So I really don't have any complaints about that at all. As crusty as these are, they're actually cleaning up way easier than I thought they would. So I guess that's one saving grace, given the fact that I know I'm going to have to spend, you know, an eternity fixing up all these traces. Come on. I'll have to contact my customer and I'll have to say, look, just letting you know, it's going to be a few extra dollars, and I'm sorry. Let's get some flux around here. And just get a bit of tinning going on here on these exposed traces. I'm going to have to be going crazy with the multimeter on this one, aren't I? Because I'm going to have to test to see how many of these traces do actually still work. We're definitely exposing a few that are going to need to be repaired. Okay, nearly finished that revolting flux. I've actually got some more flux on the way. I've ordered 60 cc's of this Amtech flux that I typically use. I ordered it as 2 30cc syringes. They got back to me and they said, we've run out of 30cc syringes. Do you mind if we send you 6 10cc syringes? And I thought, well, at the end of the day, I don't really care. That's fine. As long as I'm getting the same amount. Yes, okay. Yeah, I'm just going to... Okay, cool. Just people chatting amongst themselves, which is fine. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. If someone was sort of like, hey, why are you doing that? I want to make sure that I was being attentive. Right, okay. I'm not going to keep going on those traces because, as I said, that is a huge rabbit hole. That one there, okay, so this, just a refresher for anyone that's joined recently. This is one here that was originally an axial cap, and I may end up replacing it with a surface mount cap. The main reason for that is that these traces coming out of it are in really poor condition. So I'm thinking that it might actually be better, just from a workability point of view, to just use these surface mount pads that we had here. So this board was designed so that you could have either surface mount capacitors or axial through-hole capacitors. And the earlier version of this board, they were all through-hole axial capacitors. And the later revision of the board, which is what this is, they are then changed over into surface mount, with the exception of one of them. I don't know what the reasons behind these changes were. They were probably cost-based. Or they might have had something to do with manufacturing techniques. Obviously, putting surface mount components on is a very different process to through-hole. The way they're actually done is quite different in manufacturing, so that could be a reason as well. And again, that probably also relates back to cost. You see, this one would definitely need a trace repair. I mean, it's going to need a trace repair no matter what, really, isn't it? Because even if I put a surface mount one on there, I've still got to run a wire through that hole. Okay, what have we got? If you have a question for Bruce, just do what Jay said there. Do that thing there if you have a question for me, because and thank you, Jay, for the little bit of advertising there. I do always appreciate that. Right, okay. Okie dokie. Oh man, look, more ugly traces. Look, the green. Oh, the humanity. No one ever wants to see green. Green is bad. Okay. More. Rabbit hole. Okay, continue. A little C8 here. But on the bright side, these pads are coming up well. We know we've got this huge amount of trace repair work to do later on, but from the perspective of, the recapping side of it, that's going fairly well. Give Bruce a 3 thumbs up. Isn't that nice? That's very nice of you to say. Right. I've been messing around with a G3 mini tower. It was one that I picked up recently in a batch of computers that I bought all at the one time. And it's been fun. I put one of those little IDE to SD adapter thingies in it, so I've now got it booting off SD card, not SSD, SD card. So I now have it booting off a 32 gig SD card. I'm running OS 9.2.2 on it. Anyone out there with any suggestions? Because it's got I think from memory, a 3DFX chip on it or something. So it does do some old and archaic, but it does do some 3D graphics. Does anyone have any recommendations for an old 300 megahertz G3 mini tower of some 3D games that I might be able to run on that and utilize that 3D chip? It's an ATI Rage. Sorry, it's an ATI Rage, I think. Someone will know. I can't remember. But anyhow, I would love to get some recommendations of games that will run under OS 9 that will utilize that very, very lame graphics chip. I tried Carmageddon 2, which I enjoy. I love playing Carmageddon 2. But it was a little bit slow. The frame rate was just a bit too much. I think that needs to run on a computer with a slightly better display card than my G3 Mini Tower has. Probably work better on a G4 or something like that. So yeah, well, I definitely after some recommendations. Yeah, it's interesting. The G3 Mini Tower is something I never really gave any thought to, and I would never have actually gone out specifically to buy one. But now that I have one, there's something about the case and the presence that computer has. It's quite wide, and of course the flip-top head that it's got and everything. It's fun. I quite like it. I'm very happy to have one now. No idea where I'm going to store it though. Thing's freaking huge. Up. Oh, there we go. Three little caps here. Okay, oh, hey, do we have to go? Sorry, Zombie Geek, sorry I'm going on for so long. Thank you for joining. Oh, ow, 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 ow. My microphone just caught a hair there. Okay. Tomb Raider 2. Okay, I think I have that somewhere. Give that a whirl. Mind you, it's probably available on that whole Macintosh Garden thing. Okay, Unreal Tournament will run great. Well, that's good to know. Cool. Quake 3 Arena, Unreal Tournament. Okay, cool. Tomb Raider is a good one too. Probably ATL Red Suit Card will do it. I have actually, come to think of it, I actually have a Rage card floating around somewhere. I might be able to put that in there. Be right back. No worries, Jay. We'll be onto your board soon. Sorry, not your board. It's not your board. Don't know why I said your board. Flip top head as well. 3 cheers for toothbrushes. Yes. A classic example is the old Reach toothbrush with their advertisement where they say, you know, if you don't have a flip top head, you need to use a Reach toothbrush. And of course, my objection to that was always like, they have essentially, in that ad, they have created a solution to a problem that doesn't actually exist. And the ad is designed to convince you that that problem does exist. And of course, that's just advertising in a nutshell. It's one of the reasons why I do watch ads. I watch advertising. I like to see advertising. I don't have ad blockers on websites because I'm actually very interested in advertising in general. I like to see what methods people use to try and sell you things. Yes, and the old Reach toothbrush about the flip top head, that was that whole thing of creating a problem. And it's like, hey, look, hey, guess what? You have this problem. No, I don't. Yes, you do. Good old advertising. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Getting rid of the adhesive with my soldering iron. There we go. All right. So these are now looking pretty good with my persistence there and rubbing. Love Descent. Yeah. God, I haven't played Descent in such a long time. I'll tell you a game that I used to love playing was Duke Nukem. I used to play that network with some of my work colleagues, and we would, we'd just get a group of us together and play a match against each other. That was good fun. David Weedman, good night to you all. Enjoyed the stream. Thank you for joining. Madeline McAndrews, hello and welcome. Did I say hello to you already? I can't remember. If I didn't, hello. If I did, hello again. Okay. YouTube is full of scammy ads these days. Yeah, I mean, the ads that I've been seeing on there haven't been too bad, but we're probably seeing ads that are, I don't know, just for Aussies or something. I don't know, maybe. Okay, I've got another one here. I've got to be getting to the end of these pads soon. I mean, I just feel like I've been doing this forever. No, I just got here. Good. I'm glad I didn't just sort of miss you if you'd already been there for a while. So, hello and welcome. We are currently working on a Macintosh II, as the video description does indicate. I'm very near to cleaning all of these pads, but what I have realized while working on this computer is I'm not actually going to be able to finish this in this live stream. In a moment, I'm actually going to jump onto something else. There's another wick finished. Bye, wick. Let's grab a new one. So this has some really, really bad trace damage, and I'm going to have to go in and do quite a bit of trace repair work, and it's just a little bit too much for me to kind of do all in this one stream. So I am going to just clean up these pads, and then I'm probably going to jump onto something else because I have a bit of a, I was going to say a treat, but then that makes it sound like way better than it is. Ultimately, I had a situation where someone got their board recapped. And they got their board recapped by someone who knows what they're doing. Don't get me wrong. someone who is very, very handy with a soldering iron, and has all the tools and the experience and all that sort of stuff, but doesn't necessarily have the equipment required to test the board after recapping. So anywho, the board got recapped, and then and it didn't work when it got sent back to the customer. And so I ended up contacting the customer, and I said, look, I have got a working board, LC575 board. You send your one to me, I'll send my one to you, and we'll be done with it. I know I can fix it. So that was arrogant of me, wasn't it? And so you take my working one, away you go, everybody's happy, and then I'll fix up the one that you've got. So I'm about to have a look at that. It's still in the box. I haven't even opened it up yet, so I hope it's still in one piece. Oh, there's another one. Bloody caps everywhere on this thing. They're spread all over the place. Okay. Stupid, gigantic boards, these. WikiWik. Wickety-wick. Or as, for those who are familiar with the franchise, I could call it Baba Yaga. Anyone who might have seen those films? Oopsie. Okay. My John Wick. Wickety-wickety-wick. You know, when you start on these pads, they really look like you're never going to get any solder on them. But as you can see, as I just keep going and going and going and going, eventually it starts grabbing, you know, it starts accepting solder over the whole thing. But I just have to do it fairly gently, because with this heat, I don't want to lift those pads off. I'm getting better and better and better here. It's still not perfect. I'm going to just do the last with the wick, with my wickety-wick, like this, and just gentle rubbing. And of course, if this then doesn't work, the next thing is the scalpel. So start with the solder, the flux, and the heat. Then we move to the wick. And then if we've still got little black gunk sitting on the pads, I then scrape it off with a scalpel. But I, so far, have not had to do that on any of these. I've been able to get all the black gunk off just with those processes. Now, having said that, all of a sudden, this one gives me some gunk. Let me get this mouse out of the way. Oh. Sorry. Uh-oh. Okay, so I'm just getting rid of some of that black stuff now with the scalpel. You can see I'm exposing copper. And then that will make it nice and easy for me to get solder onto there. It's a bit flary. Well, there's a bit of a glare on the picture there, so I apologize. More flux, more solder, and then some wick, and let's get those looking. Oh, how good do they look now? They're like a brand new ones. Did I finish the LC575 story? I think I did, but I can't be certain. So the LC575 story was that I had a working LC575 board here. They had a not working one over there that had been recapped. This is, when I say over there, I'm talking the States, by the way. So this was recapped, and then it didn't work over there. So then I offered him a swap. So he's posted his board to me. I've posted my working board to him, and I have to get this one working because it's mine now. It's my board. Let's just do a quick little head count here of the cleaning. What is that? That looks like glass. I wonder where that came from. Look out. Alright, let's have a view of my messy desk. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, I'm sure it's meant to be 13. Have I missed one? Or did I just not count it? And I know that says there's 2 there, but one of those wasn't originally a surface mount. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13. I think we'll consider that done. So, glare. Jay from House of Moth, who has exactly the same microscope as me, and exactly the same camera as me, and exactly the same camera adapter as me, gets a glare on the picture from his camera. And he was determined to get rid of that glare, so he basically went and bought every single part again. With the intention, of course, of sending back, whichever was the bad one. So he got a new microscope head, new camera adapter. Can't see it. Can't see it from that view. Can see it from here. Got a new microscope head, new camera adapter, new this little thing here, new camera, new Barlow lens, everything, and it still glares. And we have no idea why. I said I think it's his house is haunted or something. Okay, so all right. Okay, so this has now got all of the pads cleaned. It's all ready for new caps to go on, which is fantastic. And we've got to put new battery holders on, all that sort of stuff. But before I can go any further with this, I do need to do quite a bit of trace repair. I'm half inclined to actually put this in the cleaner first, because this will take a lot of the corrosion off, and then that will show me what's left behind, how many of these traces are incomplete. So I'm probably going to clean this one first, which is not normally the way I do it. And the reason for that is that I get a lot of gunk on there when I'm recapping, so I have to clean it after recapping. And so it means I have to clean it twice. I have to clean it before recapping and after. So normally I just save it for one clean at the end of the whole process. But in this instance here, where I really want to try and see as many of the damaged traces as possible, and work out how many of them are going to need to be repaired, I'll probably run this through the cleaner, then I'll do all the trace repair, then I'll put the new caps on, and then it's going to be a mountain of UV solder mask all over it. But anyhow, that's all for this one for the moment. We're going to move on to the other board now. So the other one will probably not be very long, because I could be wrong, but it might be an easy fix, but we'll see. I don't want to just assume that. It could be an absolute nightmare, but we'll see. And we'll see if we can figure out, because the LC575 apparently did work before recapping and doesn't work now. So normally that's just a problem. Something's happened during the recapping process, usually, but not always. So, to everyone here, I am just going to put this down for a minute. I'm going to put up the little be right back thing, because the second board is actually up in the house, not down here. So, I will be back soon. Please don't leave, and don't go changing. I'm back. Okay, here's the package. It's got my address on it, so I should open it from this way then. Okay. Just out of curiosity, how many people are still online? Let's just have a quick squeeze. I've got 40 people, so I'm back up to 40. So everyone who has, I know a lot of people did leave because of the time zone issue, and also because I was getting really boring. They say. But obviously some other people have jumped on, so thank you. Thank you to everyone who has jumped on. Thank you for joining. So the description basically talks about a Macintosh II, which I have been working on. It's just over there now, but I did want to just spend a little bit of time on this as well. So this is bonus content. This is a board that has come from the United States. And is packed with lots and lots of envelopes. I assume one of these envelopes will actually have something in it. Wow, this is amazing. So this person has just used envelopes as packing material. That's so cool. And I think this is the one that has it in it. Let's just do this. Yes, this has his details on it, so I am not going to show that side. And then an envelope and an envelope. Oh, that's got its details on it as well. So there we go. Let's get rid of all these things with people's names on them. There we go. Pop that over there. Ooh, okay. Now, there is one thing I do know about this because I have already seen this in a photo. I know it is missing a component on the back of it. And that, of course, will need to be fixed. Originally, the problem this had is it had a squealing noise. And my general thought is that the squealing noise is probably from the missing component. So even before I look at this, oh, it's nice and clean. Whoever recapped this made it nice and clean. Right. So on the other side of this board, I might just do a bit of a zoom in here. I had to use this camera for something else the other day, so its angle's a little bit out. So this is the back of the board here, and from memory, yep, there's a component missing just there. There's actually a little capacitor. It's we'll need to replace it. And as I say, I suspect that's probably the cause. So just a little bit of history on this board. So basically what happened was someone bought a Color Classic that had the Mystic conversion done to it, been turned into a Mystic, and it came with an LC575 board in it, which is nice. That's all great. I've got no issue with that. I think they paid a little bit too much, but that's another story. That's up to people's, however desperate someone is to buy it. That's all fine. Now, this is my understanding, and I could have this story wrong, but it is my understanding that when they got the board, it had problems. So they contacted the seller, and the seller swapped them. The seller actually gave them this board instead. They took the other one back and gave them this one, but of course it was still not recapped, and it did make a squealing sound, but at least it made some sound. And so then it had to get recapped. So from my perspective, where I feel like the whole situation is not a good one was that the buyer paid, I think they paid the sort of dollars for something that should have already been recapped. And it wasn't recapped. And so they then they bought this for top dollar and then had to pay extra for recapping. And that's something that really makes me angry. From my point of view, I look at something and I can recap it myself, and so you think, okay, no worries. But it still takes time. There's still the cost of the capacitors. When people are selling computers that are either not working, untested, or clearly have capacitor leakage, the cost has to factor in the fact that either people are going to have to do it themselves or they're going to have to pay someone else to recap them. And I get really annoyed when people are selling things that are effectively not working. They're broken to some extent, and are going to have to be repaired, and they don't reflect that in the price. So anyhow, that's just me having my rant. Oops, and kicking my heater over. I'm sure no harm ever came from naked flames falling over in here before. Oh no. So I'm going to have to deal with this without burning myself or burning the place down. Sorry about this, folks. It's the lengths that I go for my own comfort. There we go. Okay, no more kicking of the heater. Thank you. All right, so the infamous board. Here we go. Okay, so all right, let me just check something here. Some people hating this stream. Yeah, I've got lots of people that do the down thumbs on my videos, and that's fine. I've got no objection. A component that was missing before it got recapped by my... Yes, that's right. Yes, it is very important to mention that this component that was missing, I can't say this for certain, but I think the board was supplied to the buyer with the component missing. It is possible that the person who owned the board knocked the component off, but I actually think the component was missing right from day dot when they bought the thing. And that's a rather frustrating thing. But it's certainly, that component did not go missing by the recapper, because the recapper actually has photos of what the board looked like when they got it. So, and actually so does, oh no, yeah, but so they have photos that the owner of the board had. So yeah. All right, so let's just jump across onto the microscope quickly here, as we do. Okay. The trouble is the market is very hot right now. Yeah, I guess. Mac Pluses go for 300 to 400. Yeah, no, it's the ones that drive me bananas are the classics. When people sell a Mac Classic for ridiculous amounts of money, you know, like $400 or $300 for a Macintosh Classic. I mean, two things. First of all, it's a Mac Classic. There are heaps of them out there. And the second thing is, every single Mac Classic out there needs both the analog board and the logic board recapped. So there's a whole stack of dollars out the window right off the bat. So yeah, but that's just, yeah, you know, I like to have a bit of a rant. Right, so here's the missing cap. C84. Here's C84 missing. We can tell it's missing because the way the shape of the, because some of the times there are actually components that are just deliberately not there. But here you can actually see the way that solder clearly shows that it had a component there once upon a time. That's been mushed down there. Interesting. So let's clean it up and let's get a new component on there. That's the first thing we need to do. That's a must. Yeah, get some flux onto there. Yes, I mean, hobbies cost money. It's as simple as that. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, whether, you know, cars, bikes, you know, computers, whatever. They all cost dollars. They're all just money pits. Okay, just going to clean all that old solder off. And I need to find out what C84 is, don't I? Well, if I don't know, it's going to be a complete waste of time. So let's see if I've got another 575 board floating around here. I'm not going far. It's just over here in my special board storage that I have over here, which is, well, it's a pile of boards. Is that one? No, God, I've got a lot of colour classics here at the moment. No. Am I going to have to go back up to the house again? No. I am going to have to go up to the house again. I don't have another 575 board here right now. What a doofus. Okay. So, you know what we're going to see again? We're going to see that back soon thing coming up. So, while I go and get it. So, I'll be back in just a couple of seconds. back. I've got a good working 575 board. Well, actually, no, it's not working, but it's complete. Oh, geez, I've got so many Macs here at the moment. A lot of them are mine. Some of them are other people's, but I've got 3 2CIs at the moment. 3. Isn't that a bit greedy of me? I wonder if I can find someone that will swap me a 2CI for a 2CX. Because I want a 2CX in my collection. We'll see. Right, so let's get this good board and let's see what capacitor C34 is. A classic board not working for $70. Right. Oh, it's A4, not 34. There's no writing on it. There's no writing on it. Oh, yes, there is. Let's jump across to the microscope. Oh, my keys have gone again. Microscope. It's A5, I think. Let's just see if a little bit of alcohol on it makes it show up a bit better. I better catch up on the chat too. I mean, that's some A-grade cleaning right there. Finest out there. Oh, Chris Wilkinson, I've got to go back here. Look, I'm just having a look at your chat because there's something here I definitely want to talk about. Oh, goodness me. I've been missing a lot of chat. What's a decent price for a Mac Classic II in good physical condition, but presumably needs recapping? Getting on and recapping it myself, or SE30, but those seem to be a little bit more rare. Yeah, SE30s are starting to climb in price. Look, the Classic II, I'm in Australia, and we pay more for everything. So over here, I reckon you're probably looking at a couple of $100 for a Classic II. But I think that's way too much to pay for a Classic II. Again, they were very common. You know, there were lots and lots of them out there. So, I mean, I sort of feel... I've got 2 of them here. If you're in Australia, I'd sell you one of mine. But, $300 for C64, yeah. I mean, it is crazy. When I moved to Japan, I'm coming back to... Yes, I know, this is the problem. We all have sale regret. I had so many different computers that I got rid of that I wish I'd kept. Or maybe it's best that I didn't. I don't know. TUI prices are insane as well, almost tripled in the past 5 years. I agree. I would love to just get myself an Apple IIe with a duo disk drive and, you know, sort of an RGB monitor, but I've given up on that dream. They're just way too expensive. Cheaper than the Meth Habit? I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much Meth Habit costs, but yeah, I'm guessing it's probably cheaper. Probably less destructive to S&D. I'll pay $50 for a Classic II that needs recapping. Yeah, I would agree with you totally, Steve. I mean, yeah, but what people are asking, on the other hand, I've never known you to pay full price for any Mac, though, Steve. I mean, my goodness, you are the Mac budget hunter. Restoring and flipping, yeah. So you see there's a mouse and keyboard. No, because there's still stuff in there. Okay, that's good to know. My A1200 with the proceeds of the other stuff can't. Yeah, okay, cool. SC 1 megabyte, $200 the other day. Sorry, there's a lot of chat here that I'm having to catch up. I'm just. Okay, all good. Hypercard stacks on a vintage compact Mac. Yeah, that's got a Hypercard now. Now, that was a piece of software that was ahead of its time. It was so powerful. It was more powerful than I think people realised. I mean, it was what was used to make the game Myst. What does the Big Mess of Wires SE30 ROM do? Anyone? Okay, so Sonny, this is it here. It is essentially a replacement for the Macintosh SE30 ROM that came with it. The primary difference in terms of the functionality of the computer is the fact that this is 32-bit clean. So on the SE30, with the original ROM on there, they're not 32-bit clean. You'd need to stick a little extension on there called Mode 32, which would enable you to utilize all of the RAM availability. If you don't use mode 32, the computer will only recognize a maximum of 8 megabytes of RAM. Now, given the fact that you can actually install 128 megabytes in there, you know, that's an important thing. So once you've actually got this in there, you don't need mode 32. This will actually handle the, you know, the 32-bit memory addressing. That's number one. Number two is that these are programmable. And you can actually turn these into well, they are actually bootable. You can actually hold down a key command and it boots from this ROM rather than having a hard drive in there. Now, there's only a certain amount you can do with it. There are a couple of utilities on there and stuff like that. And you can edit the contents, but it's not a whole lot of storage. But it can be quite handy to just be able to pop this in and then boot from the ROM. It also changes the sound. Now, that I don't like. When you have one of these in and you boot it, it makes a different chime. And I'm not a big fan of the different chime. But, you know, some people might like it. So there you go. I hope that answers that question, at least reasonably. Well, spreadsheet there, currently fetching 172.40 not working. Yeah, Color Classics are ridiculous amounts of money. Right, so I was doing something and I got distracted by the chat, and I'm going to see now. What I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of alcohol on this to see if it shows up the writing a little bit clearer on this capacitor to tell me what it is. And I do believe it's an A5. A5, A5, A5. So there is a I do have floating around somewhere. Oh goodness me, where is it? I have floating around somewhere a sheet that tells you what A5 stands for. I think it is 100,000 picofarads. I think, maybe, possibly. I need to stick that guide on my sheet there. But anyhow, I'm going to measure it. So. And then I'll be able to tell you, I've got this little guy here, which now enables me to measure components. So I'm going to whip it off and try not to lose it. And off she comes. Here's our little capacitor whipped off. GT, hello. Thank you for joining. We're, at the moment, we're just having a look at a board that's been sent to me from the States. And it was recapped by someone over there. And it didn't work after the recapping. So we're just going to check and see if the recapper did anything wrong. If they might have made a mistake or an error or something like that. Probably not, but we just need to check anyway. Okay, so I've just put this capacitor onto this here, and you watch. When I go to test this, it's going to go for 6. So I've got to hold it down. Sorry, that's a cricketing saying. Going for 6. All right. It is recognizing it as a capacitor, and it is telling me that it is 100 nanofarads. There you go. How do you like that? Pretty good, eh? 100 nanofarads. Now we need to put it back on. And I need to clean it up a little bit before I put it back on. So let's just do that now. Yep, it is a little component tester, that thing. It's a very handy little thing. I built a little while ago, and I highly recommended it. And GT liked it so much, he bought the company. No, he didn't, but he bought one of these. And made his own. And they are a very, very handy little thing. I just took the capacitor away with me, didn't I? Got stuck onto the end of my flux tube. Right, so let's just clean that up. All ready for a component to go back on there. Now, of course, now that I know what component it is, I really don't need to worry too much if I lose it, because I have got lots and lots of A5s on lots and lots of donor boards. So donor boards are obviously a board that that is dead, beyond help, and you rate it for parts. So let's just find out where. Oh, there it goes. There it is. So it looks like I don't need to, at this stage, go and rate another one for this board, because this one's still here. So when I'm putting a component like this on, I will put some flux on there, put some solder on there, I'll get my hot air station, I'll run it down to a slightly lower air speed because I don't want to blow the thing away. I'll grab this, I will heat, I will wait until it catches and melts on there like that. I then take it away, and then I'll usually then just apply some heat and let the surface tension of the solder pull it into position, just like that. I might just push that down. It looks a little like it's raised up. No, there we go. And there's the component back on. Right as rain. Okay, thank you for putting that in. That's the link to the kit for making these little component testers. It will test transistors, it will test diodes, it will test resistors, it will test capacitors. And it is really, really handy. And I'm telling you, it's one of the best things I've ever bought. Okay, so, right, this one's all sorted out, apart from the fact that this board still doesn't work, but I'll try and fix this another time. What I need to do now is grab an A5 capacitor off another board. I'll grab one of my donors. Let's see, I've got an SI here. Can I grab one of those off an SI? Whoopsie. A4, these are big. I need one smaller than this. Yep, these are big. These all have measurements on them. They're different components. They have a code that says what size they are, and I can never remember what those codes are. Donor boards. I reckon an old dead classic will probably have what I... Sorry, colour classic will have what I need. Here's one. Here's one I prepared earlier. We're out of focus here, sorry guys. Okay, so let's just check here. Yes, so we are working on an LC575. Is this the House of Moths board? Indeed it is. Okay, there we go. 100 nanofarad equals 100,000 picofarads. Yep. What's the red mark under the cap? That there is component adhesive. It's the way these boards were put together back in the day. What they would do is they'd have a little robot that would squirt out some component adhesive, then grab the component, put it in place. It would then be glued onto the surface using the component adhesive. They go in an oven, which makes that component adhesive cure. And then they would run them through a solder bath, and the solder would adhere to anything metal. So that's basically how they made them. So the component adhesive was to hold the component in place until the solder was applied. So there you go. So okay. All right. So let's see if we can find an A5 on this somewhere. These are a bit ugly, aren't they? Huh. There's one right. It was an A5 I was after, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, this has got A5s everywhere, but I'd like to find one where the writing is nice and clear. This is a really ugly board, isn't it? There's an A3. There's an A5. A5. I mean, that definitely says A5, doesn't it? Yeah, that's A5. It's really ugly though. It's I just don't like the way the solder's really tarnished on that. It's not going to adhere very well, so I might see if we can find a slightly tidier board. Needless to say, a lot of the boards that become donor boards are ones that have had horrendous battery leakage and stuff like that. So a lot of the metal gets really corroded and tarnished and yucky, and so I'm looking for something a little bit tidier. A4, there's an A5. Look at that. That's a nice pretty A5. The solder looks nice and shiny, so that should go on nice and easy. Typically these surface mount capacitors, most of them, once you've ascertained what the capacitance is on them, if you're trying to find replacements, most of these surface mount ones are 50 volts. So if you're looking to try and buy replacements, what you need to know is you need to know the length, and depth and height. So in other words, the dimensions, and then those dimensions, and then what you use to find the correct replacement. And then you need to know the capacitance, and you generally get that off that little code that's on there. And then you, there we go, that's going to go on there beautifully. Nice. It looks different, doesn't it? Oh, of course, yes. It's a different board. Nothing wrong with me. So these are all brown ones, and this one's a white one. So never mind. All good. Don't mind me. I just got to remember that this is the second LC575 board that I've just looked at. Just going to get rid of that component adhesive from the bottom. So I don't want that on there. Off, off, off. So yeah, so you get the capacitance from that number, and most of these surface mounts are rated to 50 volts, and then you just need the dimensions, and that helps you. That's how you find replacements. Okay, get some solder on there, get some fluxaroonie, get my heat. I'm just going to spin this around that way. Good. And let's just get the heat on there. Get him sitting in position. There we go. Nice. So we have happily replaced that component. We've now got one there where there wasn't one before. So that's the first thing we needed to do. Now the next thing, of course, to do is look for any more fallen off components, because generally if it's been handled in a way where one can go, it could have been handled in a way where 2 or 3 can go. So I'm just going to, generally what I do is I get the board and I put it at a bit of an angle. So I'm going to just, oh, my keys aren't working again. I will grab this and look at an angle like that, and I'm looking for the little, well, first of all, the little blobs of red, because the red tells you that it exposes the component adhesive underneath if the component's gone. And then I'm looking for those little sharp bits of the solder coming up on either side of where a component used to be. And you do get sort of better at finding them quite quickly the more you do, because you just get used to seeing it. And the human eye is incredibly good at spotting things, you know, sort of, even though I'm looking here at hundreds and hundreds of components, you do get quite good at just finding exactly what you're looking for quite quickly. So this looks all right. So it looks like just that one. So now we get to the fun bit, and we start having a look at the state of the work that's been done from the recapping. So when it comes to these, if they don't start at all, I will usually blame this guy here. This is the CUDA chip here. Not always, but oftentimes if you can't even get it to start when you press the keyboard, this guy here is the problem. If it will start up, you get a green light on the front of the computer, but it doesn't chime, it doesn't start up or anything like that, it's often this guy here. It's your sound chip. Usually some trace damage or something around there. And then, yeah, so they're probably the two main ones. What I'm often looking for on these, I'm coming at these at an angle, because you can sometimes, you know, when you're using hot air, it can suck some of the solder comes out from these pins. You can just see here, you apply some heat and then these can end up losing all the solder, holding them down, and that does happen sometimes. Doesn't look like it's happened here. It looks to me like they've all retained contact, so that's quite good. It doesn't appear to be any real trace damage going on here. So, but this is where I will generally look with these first. I'll generally look around this area. I mean, I would probably like to clean up these pads. They're looking a little bit crunchy, but never mind. All right, now let's have a look at the caps. You see, Jay's owning up to it. See, I wasn't going to say anything, but Jay's actually owned up to it in the chat, because I don't want to do anything that might potentially damage his reputation. But at the end of the day, I mean, look at these freaking joints. I mean, they're awesome. There's nothing wrong with the recapping job here. You know, there's the pads have been cleaned. There's not too much solder here. It's good at adhesion. There's no real issue there. Has he got the right caps here? Well, these should be hundreds, and so that's the 107 tells me they're hundreds, because it's 10 with 7 zeros after that, which gives you obviously a total of, or it's a 1 with 8 zeros, and that's how many picofarads you want. And when you convert that, that is 100 microfarad. So there you go. Here we've got some 4716s here. These are smaller than the ones I use, but that shouldn't be a problem. They look okay. I mean, look, there is a risk here, which I'm not saying this is what's happened, but there is a risk with this. You know, because the pad on the side of these is wide, you can see it's wider than the pin coming out of the pin coming out of the capacitor is wider than the pad that it's going on. And so there's always that danger with those. You might accidentally make a short to one of these bits here if some of that coating has been exposed. But we will have to test that. So that should go to get. That's fine. We don't want that to go in that. So one of the things I can do, obviously, to test that is I can grab my beepity beep machine that goes beepity beep, and I can just do something like this. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. So no shorts there. That's all good. So don't really see any issue with those. Now that's one of the originals. That's one of the originals. Here we go. Here's a 47. A couple of 47s here. So there's one. There. One there. Once again, just going to check to make sure that we haven't got a short between those two. Nope. Nope. Looking good. You're looking good here, Jay. I'm not sure we can blame you. There's one there. You do tidy work, Jay. Of course, it doesn't tell us why this thing's not working. That's the really complicated thing. Looks okay. Looks okay. Looks okay. Well, you know, I've got to say, nothing looks particularly bad here. And here I was going to just full on let him have it and just go, oh my goodness, I can't believe what you just did here. No, looks pretty good. Just going to check something here very quickly. While I catch up on the chat, let's have a look here. Okay, smaller caps. Do they go bad? Are they tantalum? No, they are. Those are all the small. These little caps, they're actually ceramic caps, multi-layer ceramic caps. They typically don't go bad. I mean, they can pop if they're used outside of their range, but ceramic caps are typically incredibly reliable. So I wouldn't worry too much about those. And yeah, they're not polarized either, so that's okay. Don't be getting my solder joints. Dear. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to have a look, because I know that the CPU was removed for the cleaning, so I just want to make sure that this is something that has happened to me before, that when the CPU goes back on, one of the pins gets bent, but that doesn't appear to have happened. So that's all good. So yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like you're off the hook here, Jay. I can't honestly say that I see anything major here, but one of the things that I do now regularly, which I didn't used to do, but I do now regularly, is I check at an angle. around all the areas that have been recapped. Because you often end up seeing things at an angle that you don't see when you're straight up and down. There's just a little bit of stuff, residue hanging around after the cleaning. I don't believe that would be causing, you know, a short or anything like that. Just want to check that one. Could be nothing, but I just want to check it. No. Yeah, I did already check that, so I didn't like the way this was sitting here. I just had some concerns, but no, that's all right. Okay, so let's keep going with our angled view. Some of the things that happened to... Oh, what's that? Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. I'll just do a quick little test here. Okay, let's see if we can get this little guy out, shall we? There we go. Whoop. Whoop. Come on. This is so small. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. My what do you call these things? My little testy things aren't very pointy anymore. They're old. Oh, I'll zoom out a bit here. I'm having trouble. Let's spin that around so that I can get just a better angle. Okay. So let's just have a look at the chat here and see if anyone has any comments about what I just did then. So I'll just be curious to see if anyone has any comments about what I just did then. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So basically, and this is one of the things that does happen with, particularly with working with these vintage boards, and I can demonstrate it here. I'll grab a crusty old board here, if it will work. I'm going to try and demonstrate this. It may not work because it works. Here we go. It'll probably work here where you've got this crusty stuff going on here. So you can see these are a bit crusty. With the older boards, they've had enough time for the solder joints to end up with a bit of a film on the outside. It's where the solder has oxidized, and it's got to the point where it's got this kind of coating on the outside. And when I hit it with some hot air, like this, what happens is that film on the outside remains completely and totally unaffected by the heat. But the solder inside, it starts to melt and it starts to poke through. And you can end up with, not always, but you can end up with these little solder balls that get formed. They squeeze through and then they can obviously come out and end up, wedging between sort of some pins. But we don't know that what I just fixed then, what I did then fixed the problem. I mean, it certainly could, but we don't know that for sure. But I do want to just continue with what I was referring to before about things that I generally check for. So, as I say, I generally get the board and I put it at an angle because that allows me to see what these joints are like on these PLCC chips or plastic leaded chip carriers. These, you know, the way these solder on here, because these carriers can actually have the chip sitting in a socket, or they can just be soldered straight onto the board like this. And the only way you can see what these joints are doing is by holding at an angle. So I generally do that. I put these at an angle to have a look. So same with that. You know, I'm looking for any of these joints that don't look like they've held up, maybe after being exposed to a hot air station. It's happened to me before. It happened to me with an SE30. And you know, same with these ones here. I'm looking for that. Another thing which happens a lot now. Generally, I wouldn't expect this to happen from someone who's doing recapping, especially someone of the caliber that did this work. But often, if a customer has had their board out and they might have played with it, sometimes these pins get bent in, so they would bend in like that, and then you can end up making contact with the pins like that. And so I'm always on the lookout for that. I'm always checking to make sure that these pins are all nice and straight. They're not touching each other. I'm treating this like it's a customer's board, but it's not. It's my board now. Customer's got my one. This is mine. So yeah, looking at all these pins, making sure they're all straight. I'm also checking to make sure that any of these things here, the little pins where they meet the board, whether they may not be attaching properly anymore. Now, you wouldn't expect it on a board like this because it has very little corrosion, but if it's a board that has a lot of corrosion, sometimes these really small pins might end up breaking away. That's happened as well, also on an SE30. So, you know, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it could just be that solder ball. Something just occurred to me. I can't test this. Well, I can, but I can't test it down here. The LC575 is too big to set up on my desk. So how am I going to do that and let everyone see whether it works or not? I might have to go and do it, then you'll just have to take my word for it. I'll film it with my camera, my phone, and then I'll show you when I come back. Something like that. So, you know, it's just visual inspection. Most of the stuff, when it comes to these older boards, does come down to visual inspection. That's why the microscope's so important with this stuff. But anyhow, so far I've only really found one issue, and that was that one little bit of solder ball. It was making a bridge between two pins that should not have been bridging. So it could well be the cause of the problem. The only way we'll find out is to actually test the board, which I'm kind of very keen to do. I'm going to put the CPU back on. Let me just go here to side angle, because we don't want to be seeing what's going on the microscope there. Okay, so how's everyone going in the chat here? No comments, moving on. Look, it's not... Oopsie. There is one thing that I really want to say about this. It's so important, because the thing is that, like, it comes across as making it look like there's, I don't know, some negligence or something on the part of the recapper. And that's just not the case. This happens all the time. And this is one of the reasons why I don't like to take on anything to recap that I can't test. It's one thing to be able to say, yes, look, I can go in and recap it. It is perfectly clear looking at this board. The caps have gone on beautifully. The joints are beautiful. It's all clean. It's tidy. The work is good. But if I had recapped this and then I had gone and connected it up to my computer and it didn't work, the very next thing I would do, I would be bringing it down here and going over the board with a fine tooth comb like I just did. But if you don't possess the means to test it, then you're not necessarily going to be like, oh, I've got to go around and look and see if there's some sort of fault here somewhere. It's one of the reasons why I just think it's very important for anyone who's recapping to be able to test what they're recapping. So anyhow, that's that. Plastic Cog Liquid. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. We're definitely coming to the end of this live stream. So I apologise if you just joined. We've had a look at a Macintosh II. I've removed all the old caps and I've cleaned it up, but I've got to do quite a lot of trace repair work to that. So I've sidelined that for the moment. And then we've just been having a look at an LC575 board here, which was recently recapped and then didn't work afterwards. So we did find a little solder ball wedge between 2 pins of a chip, which could well be the reason why it doesn't work. And we also found that there was a missing component, but we do know that missing component was missing long before it got recapped. So we've put that back in place, and we're hoping that might fix it. So I now need to test this. Okay, oh, there's going to be a question here. So, Bruce planted it. Yeah, okay. You saw me take it out of the box. It was the box was sealed from the States. Okay, so yeah, thankfully my collection allows me to test them. Yeah, I'm saying, I mean, my collection is forever getting bigger, and some of the computers I don't even want to have, but I need them so that I can test other people's boards. What are folks using to bridge their non-Ethernet classic Macs to their modern Ethernet network? So one of the things that I do is I use essentially any old Mac with Ethernet I can use as a bridge Mac. And the reason I can is because I use FTP to get files backwards and forwards. You know, if you're wanting to go with a more modern operating system that might allow you to, you know, I don't know, connect to an actual AppleTalk network or something like that, and you could start sharing hard drives between computers, you might go with something a little bit more modern. But for me, I generally use as my bridge Mac, Color Classic, SE30 sometimes, LC475. I like the 475 because it's small, and sometimes an SI. You know, they've all got Ethernet cards in them. So as soon as I connect them to my Ethernet network, that gives me using Open Transport version 1.3 on the older operating systems. I can then get onto an FTP server, which it's my own FTP server that I set up, and I've got a whole bunch of vintage software on there. I can then just connect that computer up to the Ethernet network, use Fetch for FTP, jump onto my FTP server, and just download any files that I want. So that's generally what I do for bridging. If we're talking about a more modern bridging Mac, I really like the Lombard. I want to say Lombard. I'm pretty sure it's the Lombard G3 PowerBook. And the reason, that's the bronze keyboard, I think, from memory. The reason why I really like that one is because it has built-in USB ports, and it also has a SCSI port. So that enables me, if I want to plug in an external SCSI hard drive, copy stuff. I can get a USB stick, I can copy stuff to the USB stick, plug it into the Lombard, copy stuff across onto an external SCSI hard drive, and then put that SCSI hard drive onto the vintage Mac. So that's there. I have different bridging Macs for different purposes. So there you go. iMac G3 Legacy USB reversion. Your local talk to Ethernet adapters. Yes. Santander Parallon made adapters. Okay, sorry, I'm just going to say. Also, non-Ethernet classic Macs. You see, I completely misread the question. Non-Ethernet, which I have just answered a completely different question. I'm just talking about a bridging Mac. But yes, you're exactly right. With those ones, I will either use a SCSI hard drive to bridge, or yes, I mean there is actually the SCSI to Ethernet. I have one of those, but it doesn't work. I had 2 of them, and I sold the one that worked and kept the one that didn't work, which I didn't realize until afterwards. But that's just my own stupid fault. So yes, you can actually set them up so you can get Ethernet on a SCSI Mac, you know, like a Classic or a Plus or something like that. But generally, when I am wanting to copy data to those Macs, I just do it via a SCSI hard drive. I don't even bother networking. So yeah, that's there you go. There is the correct answer to that question, rather than the long-winded answer that I gave before that was answering a completely different question, which I just read it as what are you using as your bridging Macs, but no. Okay, so I move along. Okay. Top bridge control panel as above works. Great. Okay, so I do need to test this to see if it works, and I'm thinking the easiest thing for me to do is to just put up the little back soon thing. Have we got any? We've still got 39 people watching, so I hope you guys don't mind. I will be gone for probably a minute or so. What would be the best version SCSI 2SD for an LC575? In my opinion, it's a version 5.0. I will just put up the little screen. I'm going to pop up. I am going to connect this up to the 575. I'm going to fire it up and see if it works, and then we'll know whether this has been fixed or not. So my apologies that I can't do it down here. As I say, the 575 is just a little bit too big to get on this desk. Or is it? I think I should just try. Yeah, I'll just try. Okay, I'm just going to go get the 575 and we'll see what happens, eh? Sit tight, folks. I'll be back in just a second. These things suck. Oh, man. Too heavy. Far out. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Apple did not get the all-in-one right until the G4 lampshade. Prior to that, these were just so annoying. Okay. Alright. Far out. Exciting. Let me just zoom this out a little bit because we're going to need to see my messy desk. Okay, you can see that. Good. So, board goes in. Oh, far out. I'm so unfit. In you go. I know these have got RAM and VRAM on board, so don't need any. In she goes. Gonna get some power. And then I'm going to need a keyboard cable. Because that's how you switch these on with the keyboard, not the switch on the back. The switch on the back is just like a standby. Okay. Oh, far out. Okay, alright. Before I press the button, I'm just going to double check on the chat, make sure I didn't miss anything while I was out there getting this thing. Whew. Whew. Part of me hopes it won't work and that ball was not the problem. Yeah, I hear you, Jay. No real need to spring for the V6 on non-PPC Macs. You're exactly right, Ron's computer videos. One of the main advantages version 6 of the Capacitor SD brings is, what's it called? I can't remember the word for it, but data moving in both directions at the same time. Synchronous, that's right, synchronous transfers. But all of the vintage Macs are all asynchronous, so you're never going to be able to utilize that. So. Installing Linux on a Mac with present. Oh, cool, excellent. I'd be interested to know what version of distro, you're going to install on your MacBook Pro. I put Ubuntu on mine. Oh boy, what about the TAM? I don't like the TAM. If someone gave me one, I would keep a TAM, but I'm not out to grab one. What about the TAM? Even the G4 iMacs are unbelievably heavy, but easy to carry. Yeah, no, you're right. The G4 lampshade iMacs, they are heavy, but they're not as heavy as this, not by a long shot. Okay, yes, we do need to talk about solar balls, don't we? Okay. Yes, thank you for the asynchronous synchronous transfers. Yep. Okay, all right, let's go. he's switched on. All I have to do is press the power button on the keyboard, and then we will find out whether that solder ball, that little tiny solder ball, was what all the fuss was about. So, well, it chimed. These screens take forever to come on. Yes, the birds are chatty today, aren't they? Well, they sound like currawongs at the moment, I think, out there. I don't think it's doing anything. What do you think? I think there's something else wrong with it. I think the floppy drive doing something. Yep, just doing an occasional blip. It's doing so. The floppy drive is definitely doing something. Let me grab another LC575 board, which may or may not work, and we'll just check and see what happens. Yeah, well, listen to that. Yeah, floppy drive is definitely doing something. Oh, we'll switch him off. So now the question we have to ask is, was something permanently damaged by that solder ball? That becomes the new question. All right, let's smooth this out of the way. Let's grab this little guy here out of the oven. Fresh recap. This hasn't even been tested since I recapped it, so who knows? I could have got my own solder ball in this one. It has got a CPU on it. Where's the CPU? There it is. Okay. Whoops. The keys seem to be working again. I don't know. There we go. Sorry about that. I put something on the keyboard and it changed the view. Must remember, don't put on keyboard. Do I need VRAM? Did anyone check for me? Do I need VRAM? I might need VRAM on the 575. Maybe that's why it didn't show anything. Because as I look at this now, I don't think I see any VRAM on the board. There's the ROM. There's the RAM. I might need VRAM. Maybe that's why it didn't work. Let's put some VRAM on it and see what happens, shall we? Great. 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 Nice, nice. Looks good. All right. So, Jesus, it's been a long stream. You need VRAM. So, maybe it is okay. Let's get that board back again, shall we? Here is Exhibit A, once again. Ta-da! And let's put some VRAM on here. I've got 512K VRAM sims here. Don't see these very often. They're very expensive to buy now, and a bit rare. This is not mine. This belonged to my customer. And he's got a couple of these. I'm very envious. I would have loved to have these. I've only got two. I've got stacks of 256s, but no 512s. All right, got some VRAM in here now. This is still Exhibit A board, now with VRAM. Switch him on. Connect the keyboard up again. Excuse me. Excuse me. There we go. And power, pop, chime. Hard drive's dead in this. I know that the hard drive is dead in this. So, well, first of all, what I would like to say, a big thank you. This wasn't that hard for me to fix because I did give away my working LC575 logic board for this one. I swapped my working one for this one. And if this had been some sort of huge nightmare problem where I'm having to replace like 50 ICs or something like that, I would have been really pissed off. So the fact that I was able to fix this with just the removal of a solder ball, very, very comforting. Not so comforting maybe for Jay, but that's okay. I mean, you know, we're all, as I said, the biggest issue here is the fact that he didn't have an opportunity to test it. He hasn't done anything that I haven't done myself. Sometimes you end up with a stray solder ball getting in there, even after cleaning, it still gets wedged in there, and you just got to hunt it down and remove it. It just happens sometimes. So, all right, okay, so that is essentially a pretty good result. We've now got this board working again, and I'm happy. The only downside is I have to move this freaking thing again because it's just so heavy. It's very annoying. Anyhow, right, hang on. Where's House of Moth? Where's I don't see House of Moth in the chat here. He's gone quiet. So could someone send him a message and find out where he's gone? It's I think this is something really important for him to see, don't you? Oh, look at that! Thank you very much for the super chat, Jay. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's very nice of you to do that. And no need to bow down, sir. No need at all. All right. Well, that is a good thing. A nice conclusion. I don't know what camera to finish this off with because I am my view is completely and totally blocked here by this humongous thing here. Look, you can see the ultrasonic cleaner reflecting in the screen there. Okay, folks. Well, thank you to everyone who has stayed on. The Macintosh II, I haven't decided whether I'm going to continue live streaming the work I'm doing on that or whether I'm going to just do all those trace repairs sort of, you know, quietly here. It takes me about 3 or 4 times longer to do things in a live stream than it does to do them without. Oh, do I have to stream with my SC30 now? Yes, Steve, you do. I will. Anyone who is still watching, if they want to see, are you actually going to? Are you going to stay up and you're going to do your SC30, Steve? Keep me entertained while I continue with some other work that I'm doing. If you are, please jump on and say you are, and I will send everyone across to you. And you can live stream your SE30, which this will be the 3rd or 4th stream of the SE30. I'm going to be wanting to get that one fixed soon for sure. Thank you to everyone who has jumped on and watched. I'm currently 39 viewers, so thank you to everyone who stayed on. I really appreciate it. I am planning to hopefully do a couple more streams maybe during the week because I have. You know, I've just got such a big backlog at the moment. Okay, Mac84, everyone, if you're not a subscriber, jump on and subscribe now. I will hand the baton to him now, and he can continue with his work. So, I will hopefully see you at the next stream. Thank you, Jay, for posting that little link there to my Recap of Mac website. Thank you to everyone for the super chats. Thank you for everyone for the active chat. I really do appreciate it. And I will click the end stream button in readiness. And I will hopefully see you at the next one. Thanks again for joining. Bye now.